Not on mute, Ameera, so we can hear all your sniffles and stuff.
They, I got it. Hey guys, and welcome to the show. I know that was a crazy beginning. Sorry about that. But welcome back to Lapeef Network. I am Ameera, in case you haven't heard of me or know who I am. I am back. And now I'm here with a special guest. Her name is Rebecca. Welcome, Rebecca.
Hi, Ameera. Thank you for having me. I'm so excited.
Thank you. Thank you for being here.
Of
Um,
course.
so I haven't met you yet, but I'm glad to have you here. And I saw that you came on the show on Thursday. Tell me about yourself. Have you heard of me before? Your channel, everything. Tell me about you first.
Yeah, absolutely. So, my name is Rebecca Barrett. I'm a content creator here on YouTube. I make content around dating, relationships, and marriage. And I specifically speak to women, but men resonate with my content a lot. So, I am trying to help women level themselves up, especially at earlier and earlier ages. Hopefully to not hit 30s and just, be a hot mess. But
Mm.
I went from being a raging just feminist, blue haired, all that stuff.
Oh my.
Lived in New York, started a few companies. And I went from that to being a more traditional woman. I am a wife and soon to be mom. So I am breathing heavily because I am 7 months pregnant right now.
No, don't feel ashamed at all. And congratulations on your baby. I'm
Thank you.
so happy for you. And it always makes me happy to see women that are happy to be a wife, especially in this time that we live in. We live in bizarre world right now. So
I agree.
it's so great to see it. So let me see. How long have you been married?
I've been married for over a year now. My husband and I just celebrated in October.
Hmm.
And yeah, it's been a crazy experience because we went through premarital counseling. We
Hmm.
did a year of premarital counseling and we we went through a lot during that time. And then we got married a year after that. And now we just celebrated a year. And in the first year, we decided, let's make a baby. So
Well, that's what married couples do,
I
and
know.
that's what you're supposed to do. So don't feel strange about that.
No.
So you just got married. How long did it take you to get married?
So,
After meeting your husband.
so my husband and I dated for a year. Then it all happened in October. So we met in October. Our first time, our 1 year anniversary was in October on Halloween. And then my husband proposed to me on Halloween at a Halloween party that we met at the year before that. And then we got married on October 3rd. So all of our anniversaries are within the month of October, which makes it super easy for us to remember. We just celebrate all at once,
Hmm.
and it's awesome. So
That's nice. I mean, that's good of you because a lot of American couples, from what I see, most American couples they stay dating years, 2, 3 years in, and they still haven't made a decision. And I've actually seen people who were together for years, and then they got married, and then shortly after marriage they divorced.
yeah, I've also seen that as a similar trend. And actually, our one of the things that we did do is we didn't move in together. So in the whole time that we were dating and engaged, we lived separately. And we also, I made a video about this on my channel, but we decided to stop having sex as well and to save it for marriage. So we came into our relationship, you know, having sex, and then we decided, I think 6 months into it, that we weren't gonna. I think almost a year. I don't know. We decided at some point during our engagement that we weren't going to have sex, and that we were going to save it for marriage. It was mutually agreed upon, and it was the best decision we both made during that time. And it was awesome because I'm just going to let you guys know marriage sex is the best sex. So so I don't know. It's been great so far. But yeah, that was a decision we decided to make.
I see. I'm always happy to hear about people making decisions and sticking with them and not just living life as if things just happen to you. I appreciate that very much. So I guess the thing I wanted to talk to you about is look, it's not often that I get a chance to speak to another married woman. So this is an opportunity for me to dive into the things that are important to us as married women and to speak about. Do you remember I told you how some people they date for the longest time and then once they get married they divorce because people think that marriage is just a piece of paper? Well, money is also a piece of paper, but you still wake up every day to go chase it, don't you? Mm-hmm. So think about it in its seriousness. So married life is very different from being single or even just dating. And that's one thing that a lot of people don't understand. And these are the things that I want to delve into today. I want us to get into the nitty-gritty about the pain, the suffering, the joy, the happiness, the excitement, and the boringness of being married and understanding why this is the best thing for us rather than just living our life chasing excitement. So I guess let's get into it. Our first question today that I really wanted to dive into was, why should men marry? What is the reason? What is this great thing that men are going to get? Is there any advantages? Is there any benefit for men to get married? Or is the benefit only for the female and the man is just along for the ride, financing the ride, but yet with no benefit? Why do men get married? What would be the reason to get married for a man? Go.
So I love this question because I am a huge proponent of marriage. I talk about it on my channel all the time. I think men and women should get married. And I think the reason why men should get married is for legacy. Now, I'm carrying a daughter and hopefully I will be carrying a son. But, when I see these movements of men going their own way, they work so hard to advance in their careers. They work so hard to advance up the career ladder, all these things, right? But where are you leaving your legacy? And so to me, I feel like marriage for men is legacy, is where they continue to live on generationally. And I think it also, Jordan Peterson talks about this as well. And it's really, marriage is about telling the truth, right? You will be exposed. Like all of your insecurities will come out in marriage. Good, bad, the ugly, all of it comes out. So it's a great, it's an amazing tool to bring out the truth and keep people accountable and responsible. But for men, I think the biggest thing is legacy and leaving a lasting legacy here on earth. So that's my take on it. What's yours? I'm curious to know.
For us, marriage is not an option. It's not something that you say, oh, I might or I might not. No, for us, it all has to do with family and building your family and keeping the families strong, because what we see it as like a tree, right? A tree and the branches, if you're just a single person living through life after your families have already built you up to be this person, you end up just letting your whole family branch off into the singleness of nothing. And that's not what we believe is proper. And I do understand the legacy that Americans tend to talk about, but for us, we don't see it as legacy. We see it mostly as family and thinking about the future. We think about not only the times when we're young and healthy, but the times where we will need someone ourselves and our future selves what we will turn around tomorrow when we wake up at 65 years old and say, what have I done with my life? Have I just enjoyed it for myself, or have I actually been useful for something bigger? So that's how we see it.
I definitely agree with that. I talk about this on my channel, but recently this year, my dad passed away, and my parents were together until my dad's passing. And something that I realized this year just hit me like a ton of bricks is family is literally everything. I think that other countries and other cultures do a really amazing job at understanding that marriage and family is literally that. It's building this network. You want to have grandparents and you want to have, cousins and uncles and aunts. It's about the family unit. Here in America, and I know you're here as well, correct? You live in the States, yeah. So here, it's all about individualism, right? It's how can I advance in society for myself? And, once I saw my dad passing, he didn't leave with his cars. He didn't leave with private jets. He didn't leave with anything. He left it all here, right? And what he left behind was his legacy, was who he was as a person. Did he love his family? 100% yes. Did he love his wife? 100%. And so that is what you leave here when you leave, when you leave Earth. That's what I believe. And so it was very life-changing and life-altering for me when my dad passed. And I know I talk to him all the time, but knowing that I can't pick up the phone and call him and have a conversation with him, I had a breakdown yesterday because I miss him so much, and that's what you miss, is the conversations, is the interactions, it's those family dinners, it's all of that. It's not the plaques and the trophies and the cars and the money. That's all material things, and those all go away. They will deteriorate over time, but your legacy and your spirit, those things live on in the hearts of your family, in the hearts of your loved ones. And I think that's such a beautiful thing. And if you can share life and create life, right, for yourself, creating children and a legacy moving forward, people will talk about you, people will be there at your bedside, and that's one of the things that hit me. And there was so much confirmation this year about family, and it actually was one of the things that was is why my husband and I decided to start our own family, because we wanted to wait a year after our 1 year anniversary.
Before you get into that, Rebecca,
sure.
I want us to stay a little bit on topic here, because honestly, we're talking about the benefits for men to get married. Mm-hmm. And what I wanted to bring out right now, and this is a topic that we need to speak about. We need to speak about, why is it not beneficial for a lot of men to get married in today's world? Because we see the quality of people that we have in this current world. Now, remember, we live in a world of technology, a world of Instagram, Facebook. Everything is a show. Everything is a lie in this world today. And you spoke about marriage being about truth. So if the world is a lie today, if everything is fake and everything is plastic, when you get married, and as you said, the truth comes out in marriage. When you get married and the truth is exposed, we are seeing that people are not liking it, and people do not see the benefit in this. A lot of people just see it as a piece of paper. One thing I want to tell you, with the women that we have today, I've spoken even with my husband about this, and he even mentioned a lot of women are not marriage material. It's not that the men don't want to marry, they do, but the women are so useless. They say the women are worthless today. The women do not provide a reason for a man to say, I'm going to wake up every morning to take care of you, because you're just not worthy of it. You're not useful to me. You don't bring any value. So, with that being known, and knowing how the family system is today in this country, how it's always for the women and the women and the women, aside from legacy, do you think that there's any other reason for a man to get married?
That's tough. And I understand, and I empathize with men today. Given the laws, like you mentioned, everything is directed at the woman. Men are losing parental rights left and right, for no reason, for just the pure fact of women not wanting to deal with their husbands anymore. So I understand. I understand that. The one pushback I will say is that I think that the vetting process isn't executed the right way here specifically, and I think that people jump into marriage with the idea that it's purely based off of love, and there is duty that comes with marriage.
Of course.
We each have our roles, and if we play our roles in our relationship to correctly, then that's when you get successful marriages, or that's what I see successful marriages, the equation for successful marriages.
One minute, Rebecca. I just want to
Yeah.
call out the super chat before we lose
Sure.
it. We have a super chat from Grogu. Thank you, Grogu. It says, Scripture says, nevertheless, to avoid fornication, let every man have his own wife. To me, that's a good enough reason. See, and this is one of the things that I wanted you to speak about as well. Aside from legacy, aside from children, let's say you get married and you never have a child, which happens. Why would that man actually feel the need to stay in this position if there's no children, no legacy? Why would he even need to get married? Think about it, because after the legacy, the children will leave the home. What's the reason to stay married after the children have left the home? Why would you even need that person?
I mean, what's life without? Humans are social creatures. We need each other to survive. I think that we definitely need each other. I'm a Christian. I and I don't know if you know that, but in the Bible, Adam, or God created Adam, and then Eve came out of Adam. She was a byproduct of the man, because in Christianity, it's not good for man to be alone, and that was biblical. God said that it's not good for man to be alone. And yes, we have friendships. Yes, we have, our own families that we from our own sides, but having that relationship, having that connection with someone for the rest of your life, I think it's a beautiful thing. I think that everyone should experience that. And it's not just about, like I said, it's not just about love. It's about duty as well. And I think that a lot of people are walking around feral for the most part. You do whatever you want, and there's no structure in that. If I did everything that I felt, I would be in a whole lot of trouble.
Let me address
Sure.
this really quickly. The super chat. Thank you, Eugene. Eugene says there are duties that come with marriage, but love is what drives how well those duties are carried out. I completely disagree. I disagree with that, Eugene. And typically we agree. So, how well you do your job and how well you're a man or how well you're a woman should not depend on how much you love someone. You should be you no matter what. I mean, just making yourself a good person and a good wife and husband, even without being married, you should just always be that. It shouldn't depend on that. And I wanted to ask you really quickly, Rebecca, you did mention that you're a Christian.
Mhm.
Are you a traditional woman? Are you traditional, or would you consider yourself more of a modern woman, but with traditional values in your core?
I would say I'm a reformed modern woman. Like I said, I really deep dived into feminism, and I think that feminism is very indoctrinated in Western society, to the point where you're born basically getting spewed feminism from the beginning. And so I would say I am a traditional wife. My husband is the main breadwinner in our family,
Mm.
and my roles are here in the home. I also have this channel, I also have my channel, so I do work as well. So you could say that I'm a mix between modern and traditional, because I
Mm.
don't necessarily, I bring in income, but it's not as substantial as my husband.
Okay.
But I'm going to raise my children, and I'm going to raise them. I'm going to teach them also in the home. I don't believe in the public educational systems, just given the situation of today's society. Um,
Okay.
so,
Yeah.
so hopefully that answers that.
It does. Thank you. Grogu has sent a super chat. Thank you, Grogu. Says nowadays both men and women aren't afraid at all to fornicate. Being a believer at an early age, hiding God's word in my heart, I was scared to fornicate. Okay. Jersey says, I'm married 15 years and I have 2 sons. I follow this content for them. I have to admit, I am worried for my boys. You aren't the only one worried for the future for our children. This is the reason why many of us are having these conversations, because we see the value in it. We don't do this just for fun, or there's nothing else to do. This is something that needs to be spoken about, and everyone needs to hear it. And this is something that I want to say, these are things that aren't spoken about enough. That's why we're here doing it. I had a question and I just forgot it. You had mentioned that you said that you're like a mixture of modern and traditional. What do you consider traditional? Because I did hear you mention that you said your husband is the main breadwinner, and that although you do bring in some money, that you're not the main breadwinner. Does that have anything to do with you being traditional or not?
I think so. So I had 2 companies. I sold my first one. I raised money for my second one, and for me personally, I was that career-driven woman, right? I worked really hard for 8 to 10 years. I was and I don't say this lightly, like I was the epitome of what career success is, for feminism.
Hmm.
I was written in articles, I was published in a lot of things, and um and I accomplished a lot. And I spoke about this on Thursday's episode, that all of that success didn't mean anything when I came home and there was no one there to share my success with. And it was a humbling moment in my life. And now my fulfillment comes from being the helpmeet for my husband, is supporting him in his endeavors.
You mean helpmate, right? Helpmate.
Yeah, helpmate. It's similar. Some
Well, I
people
noticed
say,
that Kevin Samuels typically uses that accent, and I've noticed that people who watch Kevin Samuels started using that.
oh, it's
term.
also biblical. So
Helpmate, you mean, right? Helpmate.
both of them. So
Is there a different spelling?
I believe I don't think so. I don't know, to be completely honest. I just know that I've always heard helpmeet. So helpmate, potato.
I see. I want to address this message.
Sure.
TTOO. He says, I don't see this man versus woman talked about by the other color like this. I'm not sure what that means.
I don't.
If you're saying that people don't speak about men and women in other cultures, they do quite a bit. Coming from another culture, they do. I wanted to ask you this. So this is just going to be my opinion. I don't believe that a woman's income changes if she's traditional or not. The only thing that changes is her intention with her career. So I'll give you an example. A woman who is more focused on her career cannot be a proper wife. But just because you are bringing in income does not mean that you're not a proper wife or traditional. Example being, in the olden times, a lot of women used to sell things. They used to make clothing items and kitchen items and so on and so forth, and they made money. But they were not trying to dominate the household or throw that money in the face of their husband to say that they were independent. So I don't believe that your financial attributes, anything that you attribute to the family financially, I don't think that that changes your traditional status. So I think a lot of people kind of feel like if you make money, then that makes you not traditional. I don't believe that at all.
I actually agree with you, and that's where I was getting to, is when your career is when your focus is more on your career than it is on your family and your children. And I think people get lost in that as well. You know, I see it. I see definitely modern women, and you see a lot of these relationships where it's 50-50 and all of that other, whatever other ratios. And I don't know. I don't agree with those.
I see what you mean. Here, let me address the super chat. Thank you, Robert. He says the King James Version says, help meet for him. Help meet means fitting. Eve was a helper fitting to Adam, unlike the animals. Good show, y'all. Thank you. And thank you for clarifying that to me, because I noticed that a lot of people speak this way, and I had only heard it from Kevin Samuels speak with this accent of using helpmate versus helpmeet, which I didn't understand. So thank you for clarifying that for me. I want to deviate a little bit. I know this is a little bit off topic, but we're going to get right back on topic in just a second, I promise. So this is what I wanted to ask you. I wanted to get your view on what do you think about, because we are women, we're not in a position to label a man alpha or beta. Honestly, we are not in that position because we're not men. For us, the man is above us no matter what. So we have no right to try to label him alpha or beta in his crew or his group or so on. This is where I get rather irritated when I hear a lot of women saying my man is an alpha, and it's like, you're not the person to label him alpha or beta. You're not the one to do that. Only his men group can do that. This is in my view. So anyway, I wanted to ask you, what do you think about these terms that people are using now, alpha and beta? And do you think that it's kind of just a trend, or do you believe that it actually has some truth into it, like merit, that alpha can be used for humans?
So I do agree with you. My husband actually talks about that quite often. It's really men that can attribute that, and if he possesses leadership skills outside of the home as well, in different parts of his life, I definitely agree with that. I also think that these are labels that people like to throw out one on one another.
Right.
But what I will say is that I do see the effeminization of men in society due to feminism and what it's done maybe in the last few decades, especially with the single motherhood, fathers or children, sons growing up without their fathers. So I do see that, but is it my place to call that person an alpha or that person a beta or gamma? Now they have all these different terms for
Sigma,
gamma, whatever. I think that's the internet's way of trying to label people. And if you go to actual real life, those terms don't really get brought up in everyday conversation.
Agreed. For me,
And
go ahead.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. I think it's just I think it's because we are in this space and hear it all the time. These things are echo chambers, right? The internet, the whole internet, social media is an echo chamber. So you're going to hear what you want to hear. You're going to hear what you're exposed to. But
For certain.
but if you go out to the real world, no one's speaking like that.
Right. That's true. And one thing I want to say about this is that, you know, when you have these terms, it's almost like being a man isn't enough. You know what I mean? So for me, when people try to say like, oh, he's alpha, he's beta, I say, no, he's a man. He's a man. Because man should be a heavy enough word that we understand the implications of being a man. We don't need to label ourselves with these animalistic terms, alpha, beta, sigma. You don't need, I am a man if I were a man. I am a man. That's it. I'm a man. And that should entail me being an alpha. That should entail me being a leader. It should entail me being everything that you want to try to describe yourself as with this alpha term. So I just want us to get away from trying to distinguish this kind of thing. If he's a man, he's a man. That's the thing that should matter. So that's just me. I go into these tangents. I'm sorry. Okay.
I love it.
So one last topic before we invite people, we invite calls. Our last topic is this. Let me change my banner here 1 minute. I swear I'm going to get this together. I will. I'm learning. Do women understand what it takes to be a wife?
This is tough because, you know, I speak on my platform to women and trying to help them, especially earlier and earlier in life. I'm turning 33, so I'm not a young duckling in the world that, you know, the internet world. I'm not this young 23-year-old.
Okay.
And so, you know, I want to say, so there's a few things I want to say about this. Let's just answer the question. Do women understand what it takes to be a wife?
I mean, a good wife. When I say a wife, I mean a proper good wife.
Not.
Because anyone can get married, but are you actually a real wife, a good wife, a woman that is, you know, worthy of that label of wife? Because paper-wise, you can be a wife, but you're useless at home. So what does it take to be a good wife? And do women understand what it takes?
So I don't think women understand what it takes to be a good wife. And I think that there is a lack of conversation around this. And that's why I use my channel and my voice to speak to women specifically, to try to instill in them early enough so that they don't fall into the same pits that I did or other women did before them. You know, I talk about submission on my channel, and that's like a curse word for modern women.
Well, you were an ex-feminist. You're an ex-feminist. So, I mean, do you still not get a chill in your body when you hear that word?
No, I don't. It's really interesting because, so I mentioned premarital counseling. We had an intense.
Oh, Rebecca, I'm so sorry. I don't want to miss it because last time I always end up missing it.
Don't worry.
Just really quickly, I want to address the super chat. Clue channel, hi Clue, says Team Ameera, hashtag Team Ameera, thank you. Says welcome back to the States. Hey Rebecca.
Hi.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be back in the US. Trust me. Okay, continue, Rebecca.
Yeah. So, where was I? Oh, premarital counseling.
Right.
So premarital counseling was one of those things that, first of all, it was intense. And I had, yes, it was very intense. I had a male counselor, and I was already working on myself, but he brought out a lot of things that I still was struggling with. And one of those things was submission.
Mm.
And and that's when I had chills up my spine back then.
I feel like I need some popcorn right now. Wait, what? No, JR did not tell me it was going to be like this. Okay, please continue. What about submission again?
So, you know, I think submission is the curse word that no one really likes. Get your tea out, girl. You know, a lot of women cringe at that word, but submission is not being a doormat. Okay. It's not, you're not a slave. You're not gonna like kneel down and kiss the feet of your husband. Like that's that to me, that's not what it is. Submission, and I talk about this, in this analogy. I went to aviation school, so I look at it like this. My husband is the pilot and I am the co-pilot. My husband, the pilot, flies the plane. Okay. He makes sure that the plane is still in the air, flying forward, whatnot. Okay. I am the co-pilot who checks the weather and all of the other things around and informed my husband on those things. Okay. Right? And from then, he makes the final decision. He's going to land the plane. He's going to take it to the final destination, but he takes my input along the way. It's the same way as a CEO and a CFO or COO. I look at it like that. You take these inputs, but at the end of the day, my husband makes the final decision in our household.
So this is where we differ. Because you see yourself as the co-pilot. Now, this is just a difference in marriages, of course.
Sure.
We're both married, but different styles, correct?
Yes.
You see yourself as a co-pilot. I'm more like the cute flight attendant in my marriage. I'll take care of everything else. I'll make sure that everyone's seated and they're behaving and that everybody keeps the cabin calm while you go ahead and do what you need to do. That's how I am. So that's a little bit of a difference, but
I love that. But you need these roles, right? And I also describe it as like, this is how my premarital counselor described it to me. My husband's the head and I'm the neck. And to turn the head, you have to use the neck.
Yeah.
And so it's I wouldn't say it's, I hate the word teamwork or partnership because then that makes it seem like it's 50-50 and it's not in that sense. It's you need both. I think that you need both, but at the same time, at the end of the day, my husband has the final say in the relationship, in the family. And that's what I believe. So I think that a lot of modern women, especially a lot of women, don't understand that aspect and don't really vibe with it either. So I think that's probably why we are seeing, we're seeing wives, but we're not necessarily seeing great wives, as you mentioned.
Oh, yes. Really, really quickly, I just want to say, and we're about to open the call lines as well. Here, let me see. The link is in the description as well. So if anyone wants to click the link, it's in the description as well. I wanted to say this. When we're talking about good wives, good. Let me get the super chat really quickly. It's Clue. Thank you, Clue. Says, so refreshing hearing from married ladies. Thank you. So, God, don't let me forget what I was just about to say. I was just about to say something and I had it on my head, but see, this is what happens when you get distracted. God, I had it in my head. I forgot. Anyway, we have a guest. Someone's knocking at the door. So let's let in the kosher clinician. Welcome, Mr. Kosher Clinician. Welcome in.
Hello.
Hi, what's going on, guys? How you guys doing?
Doing well, thank you.
Can you guys hear me?
Very well.
Very well.
Right. So this is a very poignant conversation as we talk about, or more or less juxtapose, the importance of marriage and relationship and legacy. And as a clinical therapist, the last stage in psychosocial development actually is centered around ego integrity versus despair. Ego integrity says more or less that I've done everything I needed to do to carry on the legacy for my family and my children. But despair is when you're on your deathbed, when you're more or less gesticulating mentally about the pain and the peril of not living your life at its fullness. And, you know, I decided to do what I'm doing as a clinical therapist to empower men, because I don't feel that men in America, especially men of color, but all men, are getting the proper outcomes that are needed to help them become sustainable. Ameera, you talked about the terminology called help me. When a man gets a very feminine woman, she becomes a vibration for that man, an oscillator, to say the least. And when that woman is oscillating her femininity, that man becomes the best version of himself. But the caveat is that most men in America don't get that, because some of our women, not all, are Western women, come into a relationship expecting to be served instead of ready to serve that man. And because of that, there becomes a chasm in the relationship, because both parties are not on the same page. And so, you know, I tell men to go where they're celebrated versus being tolerated. And you know, I think a lot of American men are doing that, because most men feel like, in the contextual framework of America, that America is not a viable commodity for most men. So they don't see it as something valuable, in my opinion. You know, the lady, Dr. Helen Smith, wrote a book called Men on Strike. And so the ground is fallow. The ground needs to be broken up. But when you have caustic policies like feminism, they have more or less destroyed the fabric of the minds of so many men. Many men are more or less taking their time before they enter into a relationship, because they know once they enter into that relationship, it can be very deleterious to their soul, mind, body, and spirit. So in theory, is marriage a good potential, good option? Yes, I think marriage is a beautiful idea.
I do too.
But the current climate that we live in, I don't feel like many of our women are wife ready to more or less meet the needs of their husbands. I think, you know, American men are excellent. You know, I came back from Brazil doing some anthropological work and touring. And in other countries, the women are conditioned to serve their men, and they respect their men. And, you know, I love the analogy that you gave about him being the pilot and she being the flight attendant. And, you know, the co-pilot concept is not bad either. But the problem with most Americans, they tend to do things based on the egalitarian construct, which is a westernized thought. And because of that egalitarian construct, many men are jousting in relationship with their women. And so in olden times, under patriarchal cultures, there was no such thing as jousting. When women came into men's spaces, they remained silent and they listened and respected those men. But so many of our women say they want chivalry, but patriarchy is a byproduct of chivalry. Men determine the
Can you
essence
repeat that
of
one more
chivalry.
time, Mr. Coach?
I said, yes, patriarchy is a byproduct of chivalry. And so men determine what they determine to be a prize. I hear some of the women say, oh, I'm the prize. But no, you're not the prize. You're the prize if he deemed you to be the prize. Ameera, I created a term called the prize catcher. And the prize catcher more or less says that, similar to in the gospel, where the bride prepared herself for the bridegroom. So the man is the prize catcher. If he sees an inherent worth or value in that woman, he will catch her and make her his prize. Bone of my bone, flesh of my flesh.
Oh, goodness.
But the problem now with so many women that come into relationships, they come in thinking that they're the prize and that they're doing the man a favor, which in essence, in cultures from the past, women knew that they had to serve a man in order to get the ring. The ring was synonymous that she was wife ready and she was willing to serve her man. But unfortunately, in the current confines of America, we don't have those safeguards in place. America is more of a gynocracy or a matriarchy. And because of that, many men have been conditioned to become subjects of their women instead of demanding power, which has been a detriment to their minds, in my opinion.
Whew.
Wow, you got the fire. Like,
wait. I need like an amen, like soundtrack, something. I need something. JR, we don't have an applause. We have to get something here, because that is.
Thank you, ladies.
But you know, I was expecting nothing less, because every time you come on, you always come. Look, my hair is already messed up. Even my hair got messed up. Wow. Okay.
Well, right, because, you know, men want to be inspired, you know, and I don't live by the zodiac, but I'm a Leo, by the way. So, you know, my motto is fire for your mind. And so men want to be inspired. You know, I tell women, when they give men feminine energy is so contagious. It can take a man to his highest height when she's genuinely feminine. The problem is that we have something, Ameera and Miss Barrett, called the chameleon effect. Many women come into these spaces, they're not genuine, they're chameleons. And so they have never seen masculinity like yourself. You were more or less trained in a patriarchal culture where the women respected their men. And sadly, in many of those patriarchal cultures, I'm not advocating violence, there's a penalty for being out of line. You know, so many women get offended by the word submission and obey, but that was a mandate of the gospel. The book of Titus said, wives, obey your husbands. That's the gospel. But some women say that they are Christians, but I'm like, how can you be a Christian when the gospel is very clear about where it says obey? Obedience does not mean that a man abuse power. It does not mean that. I'm not talking about men that abuse power or use their wives as, like, be quiet, shut up. That's wrong. That's an abuse of power. But I'm talking about she's willing to work with her man to help build not only a legacy, but she's willing to work with her man to help him become the best version of himself. You know, in the African-American community, Teddy Pendergrass said that you inspire me. And so when men are inspired, they're at their best. But when that man is around a feminine woman, it does something to his psyche, but also to his body, which in essence make him productive. And so I tell women, Ameera and Miss Barrett, that women have more power than they really know if they're really genuine. Delilah knew about it. Delilah got the strongest man to tell him his secrets because she used her feminine graces. Even though she was deceptive, she was able to use her feminine demure and charm to get the secrets of the strongest man in the world at that time. So women have the power, but you must be genuine in your approach because men become broken when they're impacted by a woman. The imprint of a man is a woman, but it happens to him mentally. A man is most vulnerable when he's been imprinted by a woman that he thought was genuine, where a woman is more vulnerable when she's pregnant. When she's been impregnated by a man, she's very vulnerable. Well, men are vulnerable mentally. And so once those men realize that what they had in their head is not the truth, they go through what's called a catharsis, or what we call red pill rage. And then it starts the 5 stages of grief. And many times men vacillate between denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance. So they go through this catharsis over and over again, and many don't get the help that they need, which in essence turns to an implosion, which becomes an explosion. And that's why you have so many men that are angry, using very terse language in these spaces because they're angry. And so some say, well, just get over and heal. Well, you can't heal when you've been told a lie for so many years. You know, men are conditioned to think women are sugar and spice and everything nice. But when they come to that great conniption, it does something very damaging to their mind, you know. And so it's almost like the Madonna whore complex, you know. Men see women as beautiful and great, but men are beginning to see that women are just human. They're just human. Nothing more.
Yeah, the delusion is going away. The illusion is going away. Like there used to be before where women were these soft, feminine things, and honestly, they played the part as well. They didn't act out of that character, but now we see that women are exposing themselves for what they really are, and just I don't know if it's the problem of the internet, because maybe the internet is just too tempting for women to just turn on the camera and expose themselves as the worst of the worst. Maybe before, because we didn't have the internet, it was all kind of hidden and it was secretive, and it was only if you knew somebody who knew somebody. You had to go through an alley with a door you had to knock 3 times. I don't know, but it's just, I understand.
Well, a lot of it's negative socialization and negative conditioning. You know, it's a constant battle between nature and nurture. And so American men have been conditioned to be subjugates to women, you know, simps, you know. They there was a time when men had standards, but men now just take anything. And so what the internet has done is given a lot of women a false perception of what their worth is. They think that because 100 men are in their DMs that they are valuable, but no, many of those men are simps, or many of those men just want to have sex with you. They're not really taking you serious for a wife. You might find a few, but the men that want to be your wife, you don't see them as worthy. And so it's giving some of our women, not all, shout out to the good women that are good, great, but it's giving them a false sense of superiority. But then they come to a great conniption when they realize that some of those men or those 100 guys in their DMs just want them for sex. And so I think a lot of times women have a struggle with understanding that a man can have sex with you, but it doesn't mean that he wants you for a wife. And that's the big difference, in my opinion.
Because women think the same. They think that men think the same. I'm coming to you, Rebecca. I'm sorry. Because women, we think that men think the same way that we do. See, if we want to have sex with you, it's because we have an emotional attachment to you, and we like you, and that's why I think women get it wrong, because men don't think that way. Go on, Rebecca.
Right.
Yeah, and I also would say that the sexual liberation movement here in the West didn't help much.
It didn't, right?
At all. And then if you look at it, you see men going towards pornography more because,
Right.
like, if you think about it, back in the day, you probably see one naked woman, couple naked women in your lifetime.
Right.
Now you have access to all of these women,
Right.
any flavor, any type of thing that you want. And then on the flip side, society is telling women, go sell yourself. You
Right.
can make all this money. You can do all of these things. You can have sex with whoever you want to. And that's just okay. And to me, those two things right there is killing us inside.
Yes, right. I totally agree. Cultural desensitization, like in the Ameera's culture, and actually at one time in the black community, women covered up, and it was done for a reason to keep men in line because men are more or less engaged through the eye gate. And so, but when that man found out the woman that he married, when they got married, she took her clothes off, she was curvy and curvaceous. He was like, kapow, because I didn't think her body looked that good because she was so covered. But now men are so desensitized to, naked bodies that they're not, they don't see it as a big deal,
Yeah, and in fact, they think that, oh, well, I've seen better bodies online, and now my wife, look at my wife's body, and it's not as good as the Instagram models. Yeah.
Right. And so I think the feminist movement and the sexual liberation, because there was a time, black women were very conservative. They didn't tolerate some of the things that you see in America. Black people at one time were more conservative than I would say any other ethnic group of people. But once they got indoctrinated into liberal schools, they began to take on some of the same machinations of those predecessors, those schools that they went to. And I always tell our sisters in love and being genuine that black men and black women were mules of the same cause. We were all part of the same cause. But now, with so many liberal policies now, a lot of women are beginning to feel the ravages of singleness and brokenness. The holidays is right around the corner. And, human beings are social creatures. But so many of our women compromise their beauty, they compromise their standards and their virtues, only to end up single because so many have narcissistic traits. They're not bona fide narcissists, but they have narcissistic traits, which in essence repel men. And those women are going to end up alone if they don't get the help that they need to, become great women.
Understandable. I want to address something in the chat. Sean Gates, if you disagree, feel free to call in. The link is in the description. Feel free to state your side of the story, how you view it. You don't have to stay in the chat and fight. You can come on and actually speak if you feel. Mr. Kosher Clinician, what would be another reason for men to get married?
Well, listen, if a man is a true Orthodox, whether he be an Orthodox Christian, Muslim, Jew, or whatever, mandates tell, men not to fornicate if he's a man of faith. So that's a major reason, and then also based on the man's faith, they say reproduce the earth, go replenish the earth. That's part of the mandate that God has given men, those that are of the faith. And if you're not of the faith, or what I call the children of the book, I'm not talking to you. I'm not trying to push religion. But I think also to carry on his legacy or his bloodline, or to more or less extend his family, as you said earlier, I think family is paramount to the functioning of legacy. And so when a man has a family, he becomes, or a family's legacy, he continues that family crest. Years ago, Ameera, family was very important. I tell all men at the Kosher Clinician that there are 7 steps that a man must go through in order to become optimized, and family is one of those 7 steps. Once a man sees the importance of family, he begins to replicate the greatness of the past, but also to build pillars for the community. And so I think when that person is building pillars for the community, we have a better society, because kids do better when they're in intact homes. Intact homes are not a guarantee or the panacea, but they do tend to have stronger outcomes if, and here's a caveat, if that father is a masculine man. And there are many men that are married in their sense. They defer power, and they are subjects of a concept called happy wife, happy life. But if those men are masculine men, they demand respect. They tell the women, I love you and I'm going to take care of you, but I'm the man in this relationship. Those kids tend to do a lot better than kids in homes that don't have fathers.
I agree. 1 minute, so, Mr. Clinician. I want to address the super chats. Grogu sent in the super chat saying, sadly, a lot of decent women get overlooked and see bad girls getting the attention, and they think that the only way to get the attention, bad, is through sexuality. Thank you so much, Grogu, and I completely agree. Security Boss left a super chat. Oh my God, security boss, please call in if you have a moment. We would love to hear from you on this topic. She says, great additional points, Mr. Kosher Clinician. Thank you so much, security boss. Please
Thank you,
call in if
security
you have a
boss.
moment.
Thank you.
Thank you. Drago's Fleeing says, love the content. Thank you so much. All right. So your answer basically is that what? Mr. Clinician?
You're talking to me?
Yes.
My answer is based on what? What do you mean?
To the question about why men should get married.
Right. So as I said earlier, men should get married when they feel like they are adequately ready to carry on the legacy of their expectations. Men set boundaries and we set legacy expectations. And a man should get married when he's ready or when he more or less feels like he has been succinctly conditioned to get the woman of his dreams. The problem is, even though many modern men are ready to be married based on the traditional norm, because men are still traditional while women remain modern. But mentally, a lot of our men have been deferring power because when they come into relationships where they get with women and say, well, if I'm going to cook you a meal, I'm a slave, then they fall for that. Instead of saying, if you want the ring, then you got to be ready for duty. And so, I get it that two people have to work, but I've always said this, Ameera and Ms. Barrett, even if you are a single person, you're still going to have to cook for yourself. That's why I never understood the consternation about folks having to cook. If you're a single person or if you got children, you're going to cook.
But I wanted to ask you, I wanted to get a more succinct answer from you because I know it's in you, and I'm really curious.
Right.
The benefit of a man getting married in this modern age that we're living in with the climate, the family court climate that we have going on right now. What is the benefit aside from legacy?
I see your point. Right. So based on the current climate, there is no benefit. Really, there is no benefit. It's a benefit in our heads, but there is no benefit because, the lady Dr. Helen Smith talked about men on strike. There is no benefit because the rules are not congruent to the needs of men. The rules actually punish men. You got no fault divorce. In certain states, if a woman has a baby that's not that man is made to take care of that baby. Yes. Very caustic child support laws tend to be very detrimental to men. And so based on that and based on the current condition and the current structure, there is no benefit for men to get married. It's no benefit. Sadly, not all, but a lot of our women have been hurt by bad guys. And because they've been imprinted by negative men, then many of them are bringing in trauma from dealing with bad guys that lied to them or hurt them. And so sometimes it becomes a conniption when you get an average guy when you've been so used to dealing with bad boys. And a lot of times what happens, Ameera and Ms. Barrett, is that, when women get into relationships with stable, normal men, they become bored. And many times they become so bored that they initiate divorce. Remember, 70 to 90% of divorces are initiated by women. 90% are by educated women. So I would say there is no benefit because men are putting their lives on the line, which in essence can lead them to suicidal ideation. And so there is no benefit for the modern man. Based on the laws. Now, some would argue we'll get a prenup, we'll get a non-state binding marriage. Well, whatever. But just based on the current kaleidoscope, there really is no benefit. Do I believe in marriage? Yes. Do I think family is important? Yes. Do I believe in community? I believe in all of that. I think marriage in concept is beautiful. But based on the current laws, there is no benefit for a man to get married.
I completely agree. And that's what I wanted Rebecca to get down to, because that's what I was asking you, because I know how can I say this? The cons outweigh the pros in this country. And this is the problem that we see. If we had a system that actually encouraged healthy marriages and wasn't so much of a gynocracy, we would actually have some benefit because, not until the women actually changed. So let me take that back. If women were what we needed to be and the court system was what it needs to be, there is a great benefit to marriage. But at this state, in this modern world that we're living in, there is none. And I do agree with you there. And I was shocked that you were actually going to say it the way I thought, but you actually said it. Mr. Kosher Clinician, you just said it outright. So thank you so much.
No, thank you, dear. I appreciate you. I appreciate the opportunity, you and Ms. Barrett, Thank you for the clarity and precision that you bring to this discussion, because men are looking for traditional women like you and Miss Barrett. They are looking for traditional women. I tell our women all the time that men want to be in good relationship. They want to be married, but they are afraid because they don't know if the women they're dealing with are chameleons. And because of that, they're saying, nah, I'll stay single. Or many men are just traveling abroad. They're finding women from countries where the women are conditioned to follow masculine leadership and authority under patriarchal norms. And so that sums it up in a nutshell.
I thank you so much, Mr. Clinton. You always bring so much wisdom.
Right. Thank you, dear. You guys be well.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
All right, bye-bye.
I want to say to you guys before we continue on with Mel, this is a very worrying issue. And if I were a man, or if I have my son who is about to get married, this is something that's going to be in the back of our heads. Rebecca, you and me both, we understand that women, you can change. And how many women are preaching the gospel of, I'm traditional, I'm this and I'm that. And then the moment they get married, they turn on you like a serpent. Like how many, see, and this is why I understand why a lot of men are so, not fearful, but very suspicious of women, especially women who seem too good to be true, because you're like, I don't want to get married. And then all of a sudden she just turns around and you know what I mean? So, Mr. Kosher Condition always brings so much wisdom and so much yeah. So welcome in, Mel. Thank you for joining us.
How y'all doing, ladies? How y'all doing?
Thank you. Well,
I get chills when hearing y'all two, man. Traditional feminine wives, queens. Woo!
Not a queen, just a woman.
Nah, I still call you queen to your king. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, definitely. Oh yeah, shout out to you, Rebecca, especially that interview we did with Sante, Simone, and everything. Yeah, definitely. But I also wanted to add also to this part what the brother was saying. Why a lot of men are so fearful, because if you ever heard the term women always preach about a man should take you at your worst and stuff.
Or they don't deserve you at your best.
Exactly. I always say this all the time. Technically, women recycle the same small percentage of men. I think it's at 30%, but they ignore the large 70%. That in that 70%, those are the actual suitors for these ladies that will not do them, that will do them right, treat them how they're supposed to be treated. Actually would make real husbands. But we all know they most of these 90% of women want the top 2% men. Kevin Samuels always talk about it all the time, and they recycle the same small percentage. So what happens? They ignore the 70%. Those 70% they put them in the friend zone, not sexual attracted to. Ignore them, get free dinner dates, misuse them, and then when stuff hits the fan for these females, when they don't get what they want out of 30%. They try to go back to the 70% for they, as they say, non-sexual attention, to make them hype up again so they can go back to the 30%. Those within that same percent, most of them are saying, no, I'm not being your cleanup guy no more. Why am I benefiting out of that? So now, a lot of females is now saying all men ain't trash because they can't get the guys they really want to be the husbands that they want. And the guys they don't want, they can't get certain benefits out of these guys. So, most guys saying no. So it's like, yeah, it's going to seem like, most dudes don't see a benefit into getting married from that part also too. And then not only that, most dudes are willing to take up that challenge to take them at their worst. We've been indoctrinating a lot of stuff from especially those rom-coms back in the day and stuff like that. How, the nerdy guy throughout the whole movie try to prove himself, but by the end of the movie, he finally gets the girl. But look at all the detriment he had to go through to finally get the girl. What she dealing with the bad boy so much. A lot of guys been indoctrinated that by so much. Of course, most of them been taught by women so much. Always be patient with a woman and this, that, and hearing from a woman's point of view, but not seeing it from a man, an actual strong man's point of view, because not all men could teach, men to be logic. We got, like they said, they're some submissive married men, but they're very submissive. They simps towards their wives.
Correct.
So for to do certain strategies to, get with the right partner and everything, you got to be very logic and stuff. Remember that quote in the movie Black Panther when T'Chaka was trying to teach T'Challa? It's hard for a good man to be a king.
Oh, I'm sorry, what?
No. I was like,
wrong movie. Sorry.
I like that. But now when he was trying to teach his son, because T'Challa had a good heart and everything. He told him, "You're a good man. You're gonna suffer. You're a good man, but it's hard for a good man to be a king. As a king, you're gonna have to make decisions for the family, for yourself that your queen might not like, but it's for the greater good and stuff."
Right.
That's what logic thinking is. And I think that's what a lot of men have a problem with women. They keep trying to please women based upon what other women is teaching them so much and is backfiring on them so hard.
Thank you so much, Mel. I appreciate your insight, and thank you for joking with us too.
Thank you, ladies. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Guys, nobody clip that. Don't do that to me, okay? That was just out of nowhere. I don't know where that came from. Hi, Cora.
Hi, Ameera. I missed you.
I miss you guys too so much. I'm so happy to be back. Oh, wait, there's a super chat. I need to get it before it goes away. Mr. Mosher says, we are facing an uphill battle. Just 18% of U.S. households are nuclear families with a married couple and children, down to 40% since the 1970s. Wow. Wow. Cora, what do you have to say about that?
I also wanted to say hi to Rebecca too.
Hi.
Hi. It's nice to communicate with you all. And just want to say thanks to JR for hosting this. So what was I came in kind of late. I heard some stuff and I actually have something to say about what the kosher clinician said. But was their original question?
Yes, the original question was, what is the benefit for a man to get married aside from legacy? Or the other question is, do women understand what it takes to be a good wife? Right, Rebecca?
Okay.
Okay.
So yeah, that's what I didn't see. I didn't hear the original question because that was the only benefit that I was coming to say. There is a benefit, it's legacy, but since you said besides legacy, unfortunately, nowadays in today's society and climate, there is no benefit other than that. So, and then you said, are women prepared to be good wives?
Do women understand what it takes to be a good wife?
Absolutely. For the vast majority, absolutely not. I'm pretty sure I'm not married, so maybe you two have more, well, you do have more insight than me on this.
Yeah.
But being someone who is not married, and actually being just recently getting under someone who is married, I realized another woman who's married, she's kind of coaching me. I realized how warped my perception was about marriage and the expectations that come along with that. So I think it's good for women and younger women, which I'm not that young anymore, but still kind of young, to get under women who are married and have been married, to get the realities of marriage and not just go off of what you think it is or what the TV says it is, or what people are even saying on the internet, like actually connect with married women to try to get coaching. What do you all think about that, Rebecca?
I definitely agree. I think some of the loudest voices on the internet are the most toxic women, and the things that you hear, right? You see shows like The Real Housewives of this county and that county and this place and that place. And all they want to promote is this toxic, combative environment. And they're saying, well, these women are housewives. Look at what you can accomplish. And I'm sitting here like, this is literal garbage. I think that if you want to get married and have a family eventually, you need to get rid of these things that you hear and listen to and start absorbing, like you said, more women that are, are marriage, have been married, have been in that position for a while as well. I have accountability partners. I have women that I look up to who have been married for 20, 30 years, right? And when I spoke about this on Thursday's show, my husband and I go through our conversations, right? But there is a benefit to having good counsel there as well. And having these accountability, having these women that can hold you accountable, and that can, I wouldn't educate, yes, and edify you. If marriage is what you want, I think it's very important you surround yourself with them and not the single women that are preaching, oh, just leave him, just do whatever you want, have sex with whoever you want. It's very important to surround yourself with good people. I think that saying, you are the total sum of the 5 people you hang around. And I think that's very important. And if marriage and family is a goal, then start changing your circle of influence.
That is very, very good. Thank you so much. And I'm learning a lot from you ladies as well. I did have one more question. If that's okay, just one quick question.
Yeah, sure.
Do you all think that women leave marriages too abruptly for cheating, like over the man or the husband cheating?
Now, you guys know what I think. You go, Rebecca.
Yeah, 100%. I really do. So I'll give you my personal experience. So I actually, in my family, there was infidelity in the home, and my dad stepped out in his marriage a few times, and my mom stayed. And for so many people said, oh, you are weak for staying. You are this type of woman for staying. No. My mom was there when my dad passed, and they completed their journeys. Okay. She completed her path forward. And I think so many times there's a reason why these things happen. It's not just one-sided. Oh, the man just left and he didn't, he left his wife or he cheated on his wife. There's probably a good reason why those things happened. And you have to look at both sides. Once I understood why this was happening in my family's dynamic, it changed a lot of things for me. And instead of pointing the finger, at my dad or pointing the finger at my mom, it made me understand both sides and have empathy for both people, because there was a lot of things that they didn't address in their own relationship, in their own marriage. And it came out in their in these things that happen in marriage. So I hope that makes sense. I think that too many women just throw in the towel as very easily, very, very easily.
Thank you.
Amira, what is your thought on that? I haven't heard your opinion on that.
I think women should stop expecting men to have the same sexual stamina as we have. We aren't as sexual as men. Well, the majority of us aren't. I know there's some women who have overly sexual desires, but we have to stop expecting men to be as loyal and as, they're not women. It's different, but it doesn't mean that he doesn't love you. And it doesn't mean that, he wants to leave the relationship if a man does step out. That's how I see it. I don't see it as he wants to leave. The majority of the time, no. You just have to talk it out and see what the issue is and see if it can be fixed. But to think like, okay, well, you did this, so I'm taking my bags and I'm rolling into the sunset. Well, depends on how old you are at that point too, because you could be leaving a natural good marriage just because you got insecure, you felt hurt about something. But yeah, no, I don't believe you should leave for that. Thank you, Cora, so much for your question. Is there anything last that you want to say, lastly?
No, just thank you guys for having me on.
Thank you so much, Cora.
Thank you.
Hi, Ace.
Hello, ladies. How are you both tonight?
Well, thank you.
Doing well.
Well, I speak a lot on Kosher Clinicians channel, and I just, besides everything that he mentioned, something that we're not also talking about is the actual technology, how the technology in the outside world provides too much temptation for women. So I watched Rollo Tomasi. He put out this chart that said pretty much a lot of the women surveyed that. A lot of women surveyed that were either married or in a long-term relationship. 50% of them actually admitted to having a backup guy ready. So that's another big thing. Also, too, how the more number of sexual partners that a woman has, her ability to pair bond is diminished. So pretty much like if it was like one sexual partner she had, she was 80% likely to able to stay in her marriage. 3 was like 70%, but pretty much after 10, it was diminished. So pretty much these women can't even pair bond with the man. Like they may like his resources and the life that he can provide, like the security for her, but she can never be loyal to him with her body. That's another big thing. So, and then also we'll talk about so more of the outside temptations too. So a lot of women, even though they claim, right, that I don't mind if I actually make more than my husband. Well, they've done interviews too and surveys to where you can have a woman that's making $250,000 a year. And let's say her husband's making $100,000. That's a pretty good amount of money. Well, she'll still feel unhappy and have a resentment towards him because, you know, he's not making enough money to actually provide for her or how she views it, right? Even though that is a lot of money. So they say that's whenever women actually get like a promotion at work or anything like that or a raise, that's also a driver for divorce. Also, too, if, you know, a man is kind of submitting to his woman at home and she's going to work and, you know, she kind of finds the head of the law firm or let's say the guy's a doctor and she's kind of playing a submissive role to him, you know, she will more than likely cheat on her husband with that, you know, with that man.
Correct.
So there's a lot of outside factors that we're not talking about here. And
well, I think it's also comparable to if a man is in shape. Let's say a man is in the gym constantly and he has a six pack and his woman is over 180 pounds and not pregnant. She's over 180 pounds and not pregnant. It's just, it's almost the same thing as when the man isn't making enough money. Well, if the woman is not in shape, it's almost the same thing that the man feels like.
I mean, I see where it's comparable, but here's the thing too, is that if you read evolutionary psychology, women have always been attracted to men who can provide them resources or that have a certain type of status.
Correct.
You know, that's why, you know, you have kings of the past, sultans, things like that. They've had multiple wives, they had concubines, and even they were kind of willing to share that man. I mean, look at King Solomon, Ishmael the Bloodthirsty, things like that. So they even talk about even like today's times where they would go to parties like with Drake and they'll have his crew there and it'll be like just 15 guys, but there's like 200 women there. And those 200 women aren't there to see his posse. They're there to see him. And it's like, they're almost like they're willing to share him. So
yeah, that's true. And that's why I say women, we aren't as territorial as men. Thank you so much, Ace, for your insight. This has been great. Honestly, thank you.
Thank you, Ace.
Oop, sorry about that. All right. Miss Security Boss. I'm not going to scream. I swear I'm not going to scream. Welcome in, girl. Welcome in.
Thank you.
So nice to see you.
Thank you. And Miss Rebecca, hello to you.
Hello.
So listen, I've been listening and I guess I'm like, I don't know, just been married too long, but I'm hopeful. I believe in marriage and I do think it's very beneficial for a man to be married and a woman. I do think women are very much off, but I do think with some training and advice and willingness, they can get back on track. So I'm a little opposite from everybody else. I kind of feel like I'm a little opposite from everybody else because I just think everybody has a role to play.
You're optimistic, I believe. Yeah, you're a little bit more optimistic than I am. You know, I'm kind of pessimistic. I'm a little bit.
I'm very optimistic because I think the problem is that the modern day men and women are not taking marriage seriously because there is a blueprint to being married and everything that they need to do is outlined for them. And I just happen to think this blueprint works if taken seriously. And I just think that they go into it looking for the wrong things and haven't quite vetted the partners or the woman for what she needs to be to see if she could actually be a good wife. Because even with myself, I have my mom, I watched her, but she never sat me down and told me how to find a good man and what to do when I found him and how to be a good wife. I just watched her. But I don't think men are actually saying, you know what, they're not asking the right questions. They're not qualifying these women. And the women obviously don't have an example far as in their home showing them how to be a good wife. And it's just corrupt in that way. But I do also think that there are a lot of good women out there that want to be wives, and they're just being looked over because of all the ones that are on Instagram and all of that with the bad behavior. There are good women out there, and I think with a little bit of instruction, it could get back on track. Even the ones that are in the marriages that feel like one foot is already out the door. I really think it can get back on track.
You mentioned it being about them not asking the right question. Miss Security Boss, I tend to disagree there because I don't think there's any questions that can get you to the point to know, how can I say this? How can you know before you get married if this person is going to be a good wife other than looking at her past and the actions that she's committed before you, rather than what a woman says? Because any questions you ask can be responded to with lies and deception. So to me, I think you should look more on what has happened, look at the family, get to know her through her family. And I think that's the best way to vet a person, a woman anyway.
Well, I framed it as questions, but it's really, did he find her or did she say, you're going to be my man? I framed it as a question, but it's like you said, it's really not questions. It's like you said, you pay attention. I should have said maybe pay attention to what's going on. I know a lot of times in modern day, I even heard it last night, women are now asking men on dates. They're asking them, to be married. They're asking them questions. That's a red flag. That's the first mistake. But if she has all the exterior attraction, a good man may fall for that. He may be like, oh, maybe I should start dating her. Instead of him finding her, she just found him. And now he has to fit into her program. Second mistake.
Yes.
Instead of him finding a woman at a good time. It could be just altered, just that simple. And it could appear to be sexy. It could be appear to be cute, or, she's just aggressive. She dislikes me. She thinks I'm handsome, or something like it could be passed over. But it's actually a foundational crack.
Everything is cute until it happens at 3:30 in the morning and the cops have to be called. Rebecca, what do you think?
I agree.
I'm sorry.
No.
I don't know what's wrong with me today. I'm sorry.
That's like the beginning. I mean, it happens. I know so many women that have approached men and asked them for dates, bought them drinks. It's just made the man feel like a king, but he didn't see it the appropriate way. It was okay for him to feel like a king, but he didn't take it as, where is this going? Or, this might not be appropriate. But that's the first thing. He didn't find his wife, but he continued on. The second thing I noticed, I've been hearing lately, is that when they do go to get married, he asked her, she said yes. Now they're altering their vows. There's no obeying, there's no submission. It's whatever you want your vows to be.
Oh.
Am I right? Haven't y'all heard this? We're now writing down the
I
vows.
haven't yet. But Rebecca, you wanted to say something. Go on.
Yeah, so I definitely agree. I think the vetting process is the thing that gets lost in these conversations. And this is my personal opinion. I think that you need to see that person in different seasons of life. It's really easy to be in love, or in lust, I call it, because we all lust over that person initially. It's that honeymoon phase. Everyone wants to be lovey-dovey, but when that subsides, you're left with that person. And if you don't vet that person out, it can, and again, I think too, a lot of people ignore the red flags because they see the potential in that person instead of seeing that as a legit red flag and a problem, and possibly something that you can work through if you're going to premarital counseling. But again, I don't think these things get brought up. People are not having courageous conversations before they get married. They're just doing this willy-nilly, oh yeah, let's prepare for the wedding day. The wedding day is one day, your marriage is the rest of your life. If you are spending your entire engagement season or the entire season of dating just, frolicking around and whatnot and not having these tough conversations, these transparent, honest conversations, what are you doing? What are you actually doing? and
I agree.
and I think that's where a lot of people get messed up is, oh, it looks nice on the outside, but once you get down underneath the subfloor, you lift up the subfloor, you're like, where are all those spiders coming out from now?
Yeah. I want to address the super chat really quickly before we continue. Let me see. It is Cafe Puro. Thank you, Cafe Puro. Wow, $20. Thank you. He says, welcome back, Ameera. Thank you so much. I'm happy to be back. He says, welcome, Rebecca. Thank you, Rebecca. Great combination of energies, and we love it. Let's just have the conversation. All right. Miss Security Boss, my last question to you is, what is the benefit? Oh, and actually, no, we already answered that, but you might have a different answer. So what do you think the benefit is for men to get married in this season of the family courts that we have with, divorce is happening for, what is it called again? Something differences.
Oh, irreconcilable
Differences. What do you think is a benefit for men to be married?
Well, when you add all that into it, well, let me just say this. I don't believe in divorce. So I'm still going back to the traditional marriage that I think all men want. I think it is a great benefit to be married. But when you add all these things in today's time, I definitely see what you're saying. Court system is not favored to benefit a man. So I agree. But, in this blueprint to being married, love is forever. And that's the duty of the man. And the woman should submit. And that's the duty of the woman. So I don't think of divorce. I think you do it one time, you're in it, and you got to make it work. Now, of course, if it's what do you call it, violent or something of that nature, that doesn't count. You got to get out of that. But just going through,
I would say extreme violence only.
Extreme violence. Okay, extreme violence. But if you're going through, sometimes people are just not socially ready at the same time when they're entering into these type of relationships. So people grow differently. And I think that is something that a true marriage can withstand. We just have to walk it out with those blueprints on with the actual blueprint on how it's supposed to be done. And I think we just bail out too quick. We flake out and, oh, she's not doing what I want her to do. Oh, he's not doing this. He's not doing this. And I think that's what breaks it up. And the fact that you get out of it so easily.
Yes. And it's so easy. And people just, I always say this in the Security Boss, that it's the phone, it's the Instagram, it's all of this, because when you leave a relationship today, it's like, oh, I have so many options just waiting for me out there, because it feels that way, right? When you look at, these dating apps and so on, you're like, oh, there's so many options. I don't have to deal with this. Before, It wasn't like that. It wasn't like you saw all these options,
Right.
Yeah. So, thank you, Mr. Mosher. He says, we should promote common laws. 1 second. We should promote common law marriage. If you can't last 7 years living together unofficially as husband and wife, you can break up like a boyfriend and girlfriend relationship. That's nonsense. Absolute rubbish. Absolute rubbish. Okay.
You're right.
Right. I saw Tommy laughing at that one. Don't laugh, Tommy.
Something that I want to also point out that I wanted to bring up earlier as well, with the introduction of birth control in Western society, I actually just filmed a video on this, but there is an effect that actually happens hormonally that affects women to choose similar genes, genetics. And what happens is that if she's on birth control for an extended period of time, she's going to choose her partner based off of similar genes, which it affects the immune system of your child eventually. I will send you these articles, because these are scientific articles that came out, which blew my mind. And I just have to say it. So once a woman comes off of birth control, she realizes that she is not sexually, or she's not connected to her partner. There is this disassociation when it comes to that.
Mm.
And they're finding these studies that are happening. I personally never took birth control because it affected me negatively. And so people who don't take birth, or women who don't take birth control, tend to seek out dissimilar genes in men because for mating purposes, it aligns better for childbearing. I know this might get lost in the sauce, but but stay with me. So what they're seeing is that there's a correlation that's happening with hormonal birth control in women that is basically saying I don't want to be with my partner anymore because I'm not attracted to him because of these of hormonal birth control, which is then creating this divorce problem. I'm telling you, I will link this wherever it needs to be. But I think this is, I think
it also depends on what kind of birth control. Remember, there's like 33 forms. So I think it also depends on what kind of hormones you were taking and which, at what level possibly. Miss Security Boss, if you want to stay on, feel free to. You can stay on if you want, and we can add on other people. Do you have to go?
No, I don't. I wanted to. I don't, and I appreciate that. And I do want to ask a question because it kind of sounds like you're saying something like incestual hormone or hormone incest.
Yes.
Is it saying it, the kids are coming out defective?
It's saying that dissimilar genes creates higher immune responses for future children. So possibly, but again, I'll share this information here. I have it all linked above actually. Because I just filmed a video about it and I found that very interesting because they are connecting it to divorce and women initiating the divorce as well. And so I don't know, it could be a part of this equation that we're seeing because let's think about it. Birth control only existed for the last few decades. Before that, we didn't see the same divorce rates, and they keep just increasing over time. So I don't know. That's just something that I stumbled upon.
It could be, but I also think the culture that we are encountering has
100%.
mostly what to do with it. Thank you, Alston. Welcome, Alston. Thank you for coming in.
Hey guys, thank you for having me.
Thank you.
You guys are very beautiful, intelligent women. Want to go and get out the way.
Thank you.
Appreciate all of y'all's insight, especially the new addition, Miss Security Boss. I wanted to actually add on to what she was saying because I recently just got out of like a mini relationship with somebody. And it was kind of going fast. I had to like end it. And whenever Miss Security Boss was talking about how, the guy being treated like a king or whatnot, that's kind of how I felt in this situation. But it was kind of uncomfortable and I had to like, cut it out. And because she approached me and everything. And, she was kind of very flirtatious and other things. And things kind of got fast. I had to really like jet out because normally I'm used to the slow, methodical, type of situation when you're really getting down to the basis of who someone is and running with that. You know what I mean? Like taking it slow. The art of taking it slow. So I feel like today and now, like today's world, due to social media and just the way things are, unfortunately, people have lost the art of taking it slow.
Well, that's what Miss Security Boss was just speaking about and how the roles have been reversed. What do you have to say about that, Miss Security Boss?
Austin, I think you did an outstanding job. I think you avoided some red flags. And I definitely want you to be more intentional in finding your wife, if that's what you're looking for.
Yes, ma'am.
And taking it slow would be what you do as far as your intentions. But just to let you know, once I start dating my husband, we got married within 6 months. Because in a minute, you will know if she is the one.
Yeah.
So it's a slow process, then it's a fast process, or it can be, slower than fast. But don't be asleep. Pay attention to the red flags, because remember, when you're dating, you're building that foundation to the rest of your life, because you're only doing it one time. So I know I want you to feel like a king, because you are, but you need to do that within marriage. You need to earn that. You need to say, okay, I'm doing this as a husband. And then you start beating yourself on the chest. If you're doing it prior, you need to be questioning, wonder why she did this, So that is good that you recognized it, because I do think it's a red flag. But be intentional with it. Ask yourself, go through that blueprint. My blueprint is God's principles. Read the word and see what it says about a man's role in a marriage. He says you gotta love. You gotta read that whole paragraph about what love looks like and what it is and how it's extended, and find out where you are. And if any part of that is where you're lacking, that's where you're gonna have your problem, because your first job is to love your wife.
Yes, ma'am.
And then, of course, she's submitting. She's totally submitting. So you get to the business of it first, because you're the one, you're driving this car, or this train. It's you. It's on you. Do it first, and you will be happy that you chose her. Now, it's not going to be easy. There are going to be roadblocks. Y'all going to get into arguments, because again, people socially develop at different times. But you need to find out if she's has the right intentions, and you do that by vetting her. Is she, how does she like this, or why are you doing this? Ask those questions, that whatever it is, you got to put her to the test. You got to be more intentional about it. Can you submit to a woman? Can I be number one in your life? How about that? Can you be considerate of me? Can you put me first? And when I say that, now that gets deep, because later on when the kids come, can you put me first? You got to catch her off guard with that, because women love their kids. They love their kids. They be like, no, baby, what? See, that's a red flag. You got to say, you got to understand that husband comes first, because I'm the provider. I provide for all of you all, not the kid. But if it is the kids, then you got to wait to the appropriate time when she's mature enough to handle a child.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you so much. Austin, do you have anything? Oh, go ahead. Sorry. No, Austin, did you have any other questions?
Yes. Actually, so before we were talking about all of that, I remember you guys were talking about the cheating role, and I don't know. So I had a different opinion on that, because personally, I don't think anybody should cheat. I feel like before it even gets to that level, there should be some type of established communication. You know what I mean?
In a perfect world, I think all of us are saying that you shouldn't cheat. But if it were to happen, we have to understand that life isn't perfect and it's not ideal. It's not idealistic, but things aren't going to happen as they should all the time. So we were basically saying, if it did happen, what would be our response? But you're right. Before cheating ever happens, we should have a process that we go through. What do you guys say? What do you think about it, Rebecca and security boss?
Yeah, I definitely think complacency is the biggest thing that can make a marriage fail. Not having courageous conversations. I like to say courageous conversations, because these are tough conversations to have with your husband or with your wife. But complacency and not working on the marriage, that can kill a marriage. People, I've seen marriages fall apart because they don't talk to each other anymore. They don't communicate with each other. They are roommates living in the same house and just going about their lives, and marriage, you have to work on it. It's a beautiful thing, but it's not easy, and it comes with different seasonal highs and lows. You're going to go through the mountaintops with that person, and you're going to go through the valleys with that person. And so if you, you have to be intentional in your marriage as well. You have to put in the work, both people there. That's my opinion on the matter.
I agree with both of them. You have to put in the work. And I think you should be so busy at working on being a good husband that you shouldn't even have thoughts of cheating.
Thank you so much, guys. And Alson, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me, ladies. Have a beautiful night.
So we're gonna let in Tommy. Hey, Tommy.
Hey, ladies.
Hey, Tommy.
Welcome in.
One thing that I've kind of come to with the social media thing is the inbox. Like that is like kind of the worst thing that could have happened to us. I explained to people when we grew up, you kind of had to earn that phone number and you had to put in work, and then she would have to accept it. Now it's literally as simple as a follow, and I have access to your phone. It's almost no different than a text message. Literally, it comes to the exact same device. So I think what's difficult now is when you were in a marriage, your woman used to be yours and no one had access to her. Now she could have 5,000 followers on Instagram and literally 4,000 guys have her number. And everybody knows when you have those options, you act different. You know, when he says something to you, it doesn't hold as much weight because I got 30 dudes in my inbox that's telling me this, this, and this, you know, and then you get the women too, they get to, you know, we call it dirty Mac, and they get to talking to these dudes about their problems, and you know, the dudes is, oh, I would never do that. Oh, I would do this. And after a while, it starts to, you know, sit in your brain, and then you start to come up with a mindset of, you know, I don't have to take this. Oh, it's better over here, you know. And I think that's a big challenge that a lot of people have in this generation is you have to deal with a woman that literally can be accessed by so many guys sent by a simple inbox. And I think that's something that I don't think we've ever had to deal with in life, because again, it went from a house phone to even when we came to cell phones and beepers, like she had to give that number out. She had to give that access out. And now it's literally, I can go on Instagram, find somebody, follow them, and I have that access to them.
I never thought of it that way, but you're exactly right. That is kind of scary when you think about it, because think about how many times in a marriage you may have a fight, you know, it might have a hard disagreement, and the moment you open your phone, oh, all of a sudden there's all these people messaging you. You're right. What do you think about this, guys or ladies? Sorry.
Tommy, are you married?
I'm not.
Okay, so you just given a what if situation?
Well, because so my parents were married, and what's weird about it is that's almost what, not even almost, it's essentially what happened to them. You know, was and they ended up splitting. They were together for what, 30 years.
Oh no.
And it, you know, and I'm sure there's more to it than that, but if you subtract that access, I'm sure, you know, it would have limited, you know, the damage.
Well, the reason why I'm asking that, and I said that, is because I can see how a marriage could get off track with that. And I'm going to just tell you, I'm older than you, of course, but I have never in my life had a social media page. I've never had a desire to be on social media. Even what I do now, my husband governs it. I don't, you know, I'm here with you, but I don't indulge in it. So I'm saying this because I think a woman should be more so into her husband, into her marriage and family, more so than social media. So if that's a conversation that needs to be had, I just think we need to sit down and say, listen, this is really bothering me. I don't think this is taking our marriage in the right direction. You allowing too many voices into our relationship, because that's what it is. These are different voices. These are different. This is different energy. Even when you're on social media and people are talking about, you know, they're putting up these different scenarios. What would you do if your man did this? And then all this speaking comes. Women are reading this and they're bringing that energy into the relationships. So you have to cut it off. You have to just say, listen, you know, I want to be with you and I want our marriage to be successful. We got to stop this. You're bringing in a different energy. You have to take control as a leader, as a man, and take the whole relationship into a different direction. And if it means no social media, then you can live. A grown woman should, with kids at least, with kids or without, should be able to live without social media, even if she's got to start some little business, you know, get into a fitness class, do some yoga, learn how to cook more meals or whatever. So many hobbies. It's something that we can do that we don't have to be on social media.
And people always
Yes.
ask why I don't have an Instagram, Facebook, all of this. I don't have it. And I don't feel the need to as a wife. And these are 3 married women on the panel, Tommy.
Mhm.
These are 3 married women telling you this isn't good for a married woman to have. It's not proper. I don't need all that access to other people or them having access to me. What do you think about it, Rebecca?
Yeah, I had to go to the bathroom.
It's okay.
But I think I get the gist of the conversation. I agree. I've limited access to my Instagram. I'm not posting any photos and things of that nature. Also, that's another thing that I wanted to say as well. I don't engage with men that's not my husband. And I get a lot of men that reach out to me in my DMs because obviously I have a YouTube channel and things like of that nature. But my husband actually goes through my requests and he goes through all of them before I get to see them. And I think it's awesome because then I don't have to deal with that stuff.
Yeah.
I don't have to deal with that stuff. He's like, okay, these people are crazy and that's fine. He's like, here are the good ones. Here are the women that are actually reaching out to you, because I do get a lot of women who reach out to me on social media. So I want to give them that attention, if that makes sense. And I want to respond to them. But even emails, I'm very particular in that as well. I don't coach men. Men stay with the men, women stay with the women. That's my motto in life. And
Is
that's
there
what
anything?
we
Go ahead.
subscribe to. So
Is there anything else you want to say, Tommy?
Yeah, I also had another kind of weird epiphany. So when I was with my daughter's mom and we broke up and I became single, I never knew the epidemic we have with women. If I met 5 women, 3 to 4 of them had been touched. Like, it is sick. And I did not know it was that prevalent in our society. And knowing what that does to a lot of these women's, head, it's no wonder that it's hard to get married out here these days because, like I said, I was blown back by how many women, after, having conversations with them, finding out that that had happened to them, and it at an alarming rate. Like, it's like I said, it's sick.
I've noticed that in America, in the Western world, that it's a little bit more common because in the Middle Eastern world, we don't have that problem very often. And if it did happen, usually the person who did it is beheaded or something has happened to them. So, I mean, just hearing that in America, that there's so many women who have gone through sexual assault or have been exposed to things at a very young age is very alarming. What do y'all think?
Here it's a secret, normally it's somebody very close, but it's just one of those things you keep a secret. Nobody tells, and the person just has to deal with it, possibly living with the person for many more years after, or, it's terrible, but you're not supposed to tell. That was one of those things you just keep to yourself.
Oh, yeah. See, that's the thing. And that's one thing. I know I'm going to let you speak, Rebecca, but that's one thing that I value about my culture, because in our culture, whatever Westerners say that, oh, the men are too controlling, they're too domineering, the men watch over us like hawks. Like, we don't leave the house without the men knowing where we're going, our father or our husband. Once I left my father's house, I moved to my husband's house directly. There was no option or chance for something to happen to me because of that. And I think we should bring that back even to Western culture, that, you're under your father's gaze until you're under your husband's gaze.
Well, Ameera, in the West, sometimes it is your father or your grandfather.
Well, yes, I understand that. And I've seen that too, which is very disgusting. But, that's why I am in full agreement that we should bring back beheadings and punishments that are of extreme nature. I believe in public beheadings of people who do those kind of things. And I'm sorry, JR, for saying that. Please don't kill me later. Okay, go ahead.
Consequences are important. We don't have a lot of them here.
Yeah, accountability. I think as a nation, that's literally the one word that's destroying this nation, is nobody's accountable for what they do. It's always an excuse. It's always somebody else's fault. There's no accountability. And that kind of speaks to it, like what you said. If they knew that consequence was coming, they'll think about it, you know.
Yeah, I agree. I agree 100%. And it comes from the top down. If you can't even see accountability from the top, how are you trying to instill accountability in younger people if, you know, adults, people in positions of power can't even take accountability for their own actions? And I'm not gonna be political on this podcast, but you know, it's, if you can't take accountability from the top down, you know, it becomes very difficult. But I do think accountability should be instilled within the family, in the nuclear family. And that's why I push the nuclear family so much, is because that's where a lot of these values were instilled. And again, I know that these things happen within families as well, and these things happen in the dark, but they need to be brought to the light. And you know, I think here's the thing, if people talk about it, they're shamed, but if you actually talk about it, you don't own that shame anymore, and that's not for you to carry with you. And I think therapy really could help a lot of people in situations like this, and addressing it from a very early age. It's very difficult. It's a complex problem. And yeah, it's really, really sad to see this happening.
Well, I would also say on the other side, as far as with the men, and especially coming from people like with my background, I came from the hood. It's a lot of traumas we go through. PTSD, it's real. And I went to therapy. I'm starting to understand some of the stuff that, you know, I call it tweaks in my brain or whatever from what I went through, from where I grew up at. So that's also another thing. So, you know, I kind of get frustrated with a lot of people when they talk to these guys and they don't understand that you aren't talking to just perfect guys. You're talking to a lot of these guys have been through a lot of stuff. You know, I got both of my little brothers have seen right there in front of their face 3 of their best friends murdered. You know, that's trauma, you know, and now they're going out of the world and dating with said trauma. So it's just it's hard because it's a lot of people dealing with a lot of stuff, and luckily now a lot of people are promoting this what do you call it, a therapy and stuff, and hopefully a lot of people will start catching on and using it, because I finally went, and it definitely helps to kind of get some of that stuff out. And for me, a lot of the stuff I never knew even bothered me, because for me, my personality, I just bottle it up and I just keep it moving. You know, I'm not going to complain about it. I'm not going to cry about it. And I don't like to talk to a lot of people because I know people go through their own stuff. So I don't want to add my stuff onto them. So I just deal with it myself and I keep it moving. And then in going through therapy, I'll find out, oh, well, you know, kind of going to what you said, security boss.
That's what men do, is they typically hold it back because they don't want to burden others. So yeah, I'm glad that you did seek help.
I mean, one thing went wrong and I would just
lose it,
you know, if I was with somebody, and it just, so just starting to learn that stuff, it's helped me. And I think a lot of men and women could, you know, go to therapy and get some help, and it may help stuff, but yeah.
Thank you so much, Tony. Thank you so much.
No
and yeah, you brought in really good insight here. Thank you so much.
All right.
Bye.
Good night.
Bye, Tommy.
We have Wesley here. Hey, Wes.
Hey, Wes.
Hi, Wes.
Oh, you're muted.
Yay, I'm unmuted.
Yay.
So good job there.
How you doing?
You opened up another good can of worms there. I'm doing fine. Just getting ready for the holidays. Too bad you can't enjoy it with us for certain religious reasons.
Oh, well, excuse you, sir. While you guys were having turkey on Thanksgiving, I was in Turkey for Thanksgiving. Thank you.
Ooh. Ooh. Burn.
Snap. What do you have on the topic?
Well, I've been listening for a little while here. Big topic. I I found something that we disagree on. I think you're a little too liberal on letting men cheat. I'm
It's
against
not
that.
liberal. It's recognizing the differences between men and women. But go on. There's nothing liberal about me, so don't say that. You know I get offended. Go ahead. I see what you're trying to do, Wesley. I see what you're trying to do. You know what? I have the power to block you. Did you know that? I have the power.
But you won't do that because you're a decent person.
You can't come in here. No, Wesley.
You're a decent person though. So anyway, I don't think there's excuses for cheating. I think if you're in a place where you feel like it's time to cheat, then it might be time to discuss other options within the marriage, like maybe ending the marriage or going to counseling to figure out what's going on. In times like those, there could genuinely be just some sort of emotional strife that the couple just has not worked on, or one may not realize that it needs to be worked on, or one does not want to talk about it. So it goes back to the importance of communication within a relationship. And then I've known people that cheated. I've never understood why they do it. If a man is having issues with being attracted to his wife, well, first of all, why is he spending 3 hours in a gym working out when he's worked all day? Why is he not at home? You work out for half an hour or so, or just do some push-ups at home, but just be at home with the wife and the kids there. Both parties have a lot of their own stresses, and it's better to just be together as opposed to living too much separately. You already spend most of the day out of the house. Give a few hours together.
So do you think that would reduce cheating if they were constantly together?
Well, I think it'd be a lot. Yes, I would. So this happened. I'm aware of this story from when I was a teenager. But there was a guy. He was a huge bodybuilder in town, right? Huge bodybuilder. He was very proud of his bodybuilding, and he was very, very sad. And when he was asked why, he said, "Well, my wife wants to get a divorce." And the question was, "Well, why does she want that divorce?" Well, she says, we just don't spend enough time together." But you could notice that the dude was pretty buff. So the next question was, how often are you in the gym? He's like, 3 hours every night. Okay, well, that's kind of what does he not understand there? He's he's looking at himself in the mirror, while he's pumping iron, than what he is just being with his family at night. I understand the importance of physical fitness. But you're going overboard there when you're actually choosing gym time over,
family time.
Yeah, family time, or having a little workout session with the wife later on.
Yeah.
Hint, hint. I don't know if you got that.
Yeah, okay, Wesley. When you have to explain the joke, it doesn't. Oh God. Wesley, every single time. Oh my God. No, but I agree. I mean, I kind of agree. And I kind of think like if you are forcing yourself to be together, I understand that it does reduce the chance that you're going to go somewhere else. But I don't know, like, are you forcing yourself to be there because you don't want to cheat? Or are you there because you want to be there? That's why
I'm there because you want to be there. If you feel like if a man is dreading going home, then there's something wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I'm not saying there's something wrong with him or something wrong with her, but there's something wrong with the way that they are interacting. Is he coming home and it's just nag for 6 hours straight and finally somebody passes out? Okay, that's something that needs to be addressed. But I don't think the answer is to run off and knock boots with someone else.
No.
True. Oh, also, what do you have on the other topic that I brought up here regarding the benefits of marriage for men, aside from legacy, aside from children's? What else is there for marriage? You are married.
Modern Western world. In modern Western world, I'm not seeing a big benefit to it. I'm raising my 2 children on my own. It took a lot of fighting to get there. And I've known a lot of men that have been destroyed by the courts. Courts have, a lot of times courts are kind of pro-female because there's this old trope in belief that men are not fit for raising kids. It's been disproven, but you still have that problem. Like, especially like you have a lot of male judges, they look at the female, they're like, oh, I'm a man, I must protect the woman. And if there's a problem, obviously it's the man's fault. So judges are having a hard time realizing, well, maybe they're looking at it wrong.
You really think that's what it is, that they feel like they should protect the woman? Or do you think that a lot of judges are just liberal hacks that are so used to this gynocentric world that we live in, that only glorifies and puts on a pedestal the female sexual organ?
There's Ameera taking it political. I love it. Thank you for taking it there.
Oh my God, I'm sorry, guys. I know.
I love it. I love it. I'm
so
waiting
sorry
for it to come out.
I'm sorry. It
it's
actually
actually kind of anti-modern liberal if you want to go into it, because that's acknowledging that there's differences between males and females. So the court system is kind of rigged against males, and then when men are thinking about getting married, they are thinking about setting down roots and having a whole brood, having an actual family. But a lot of women have been convinced that they're supposed to have a career too. When are they thought of? When are they important? And as I've mentioned before, the importance of gender roles is gender roles are the most energy efficient shape. I've actually known, when we look at the economy right now, and for some reason the Biden administration can't figure out why people are not wanting to go back to work. Part of it is
you see security pause. Her face when you said that.
A lot of women, I know this locally. I don't know about your areas, but there's been a lot of women that don't want to go back to work because they've spent so much time at home, and they're like, oh crap, I happen to like my kids more than I do my boss.
You know what? There's another thing that women have been realizing with this whole COVID situation. They've been realizing that they don't want to be alone, because a lot of women didn't feel alone until this happened, and they were forced to sit there and look at themselves in the mirror at home. And when they realized that when they looked in the mirror that there was no one else standing next to them, that's when people are like, oh, this isn't, and I see a lot of women. You guys tell me, these 3 women here that are married and YouTubers, you all see things that maybe other people don't see. Being a YouTuber and being in the spotlight, you tend to see things that others don't. Do you notice that there's more women coming online now and trying to figure out how to better themselves than before? Because before it was almost as if there is no problem. But now there are women, a little bit more, it's still not enough, but there are women now coming on and saying, we need to change. We need to do something. How can I be more submissive? How can I be more feminine? How many femininity gurus do we have now online that you guys have seen that are new channels within the last 2 years that have come online to teach other women how to be feminine, submissive, and dainty and quiet again?
You're exactly right, because YouTube is generally a man's world. I mean, when I came on, it's men everywhere. So you're right, just us 3. And, there's others, a lot of others. So you're right about that. But I happen to kind of advocate for the women not going back to work if it motivates and helps the family nuclear, if it helps promote marriage and staying together. I kind of like the idea of women not going back to work. It hurts my business, but, if it helps them stay at home with their kids, cook for their husbands, possibly save some money on lunches and daycare and all of that, I think it's a good idea.
But why would it hurt your business? What is your business again?
My husband and I own a security firm.
But why would women not going back to work harm your business? In fact, men tend to be the ones that are, earning more. I know women tend to spend more, but it's more on retail things, correct? When it comes down to security, it would be men, wouldn't it?
No, it hurts my business because of the lack of employees. We hire both men and women.
I see.
So, like, I do have a lot of men, but the women, if they're deciding not to come or can't come because, COVID scares every other week, can't take them to the daycare, and they find it best is to stay at home, it does hurt my business.
So there's not an equal amount of men that want to work in this field?
Not right now. Or if they are, they're just like you said, they're waiting till the money run out from Biden so they can come back next year.
Oh my.
That's kind of how I see it. That may not be right, but
I think it is pretty right,
there's
actually.
something going on that we don't know about. How about that?
There is. And I want to address the super chat. Speaking of money running out, I want to say thank you to Antonio. Antonio says we need to encourage men to exercise their gira. Guys, read that for me. What does that say? Gira. How do you pronounce? You don't know? Nobody knows? Okay, well, we're going to call it Gira. Like it says in the Quran, and not allow the women in the family to run too freely. Thank you so much, Antonio. And let me see, where's the other one? It says, Sir Hale Speaks says, sending love. Good to see Ameera. Hi, Rebecca. Really appreciate your content. Security boss, love what you do and how you do it. Great conversation. Thank you. And then, let me move this one. I'm so lost. Okay, here we go. And this is from US Law. He says, this is the kind of man who is part of the problem with marriage and men. He has mastered the art of telling women what they want to hear. He has a poor understanding of human nature. Are we talking about Wes here? He has mastered the art of telling women what they want to hear. Well, Wesley, what do you have to say about that? Do you think that what you're saying is to please women or not to upset the women? There are three of us here, and remind you,
I think it sounds like he probably intentionally says things to irritate people. I intentionally say things to give what I see, and I have a unique ability to see all sides of a conversation at once and realize when there's static on both ends of the conversation, that means both people need to be addressed in their own unique way.
What do you mean?
I think he's referring to the cheating. You stated that it's not a reason for cheating. You're holding everybody accountable for it. And a lot of times men excuse themselves for cheating because they're men. They just pass it off as I'm a man. So that's why I did it. So when you stand up for it or stand against it, it's supposedly, I guess, sweetness to our ears when also women cheat. So I don't know. You didn't mention them. So I guess that's what he's talking to, though.
Okay. Well, Wesley, if you want to hang out, feel free, because I got to get somebody else and I got to get Chris in. He's been waiting for a long time. If you want to hang out, you can hang out and we can bring you back if you like. Because you're part of the panel, so. All right. So just hold tight and we'll bring you back, okay? All right. Let's get Chris in. Hi, Chris.
Hello, everyone. And
Hi,
hello,
Chris.
Rebecca. I watch your channel, and I love your content too. So, as a guy,
Thank you, Chris.
I just kind of lurk in the background and listen to you talk.
She's amazing. She's amazing.
I'm gonna try to go fast and not waste too much time. But my grandmother on my mom's side had 12 kids. My granddad had 18 kids. So I grew up with a lot of aunts and uncles. So both sides of my family created a huge legacy. But my mother's granddad, he died young, but my father's father, he died when he was like in his late 70s or 80s. So we've always had like family barbecues every holiday. Everybody gets together, big barbecue, Christmas, all these kinds of things. And my parents were married 35 years before my dad died. So I have a good view of marriage because I have a lot of aunts and uncles and watched their relationships as I grew up over the years and everything. So I have and I was raised to treat women a certain way and to treat my mom a certain way, because even if we didn't do what mom said, dad would just be like, do what your mama said, boy. Those types of things. And I come from it's a blended family too, because my mom had 2 girls when they got married and my dad had 2 boys. And then me and my little sister came along after that. And my dad was a truck driver and a preacher. So he drove the truck during the week, and then at Sundays he dealt with church stuff. And he said he used to work more before he got married, but he said that he told us after he got married that he quit one of his second job because he's like, I want to spend time with my wife and kids. He said, I could make more money, but I want to spend time with my wife and kids. That's why I got married.
حبيبي حالك هنا بس خلاص إيه خلاص.
Oh, sorry. But my thing is when I'm trying to, and I used to live in Atlanta. I live in the DC area now,
Can I,
which is
Chris, just really
Yes.
quickly, can I respond to that, what you just said?
Sure.
That's absurd, in my opinion. I'm sorry to say that, but that is absurdity. To say
What is
that
that?
I'm going to get married and I'm going to quit one of my jobs because I want to look at my wife's face all day. That is absurd, and that is very irresponsible. This is your father?
Yes.
I'm sorry. I don't mean to. I'm not trying to be disrespectful at all, but that's still absurd. Because
What's absurd about it?
Because okay, listen.
Because he still had two jobs.
I understand, huh?
Because he still had two jobs.
So you mean he had 3 jobs and then he quit one?
Mm-hmm.
Because you said he had 2 and then he quit one when he got married.
He had two, I guess you would call them professional jobs during the week.
Okay.
So he quit one of those jobs. So he was just a truck driver, and then he handled church business during the week and on Sunday. So he still had 2 jobs.
Because a wife should understand that the husband has to provide. You can look at your wife all day and night once you're retired.
But the thing is he still provided for his family, his wife, and his 6 kids.
I mean, I guess to each their own.
Yes, because money isn't always the most important thing when it comes to a family. And being at work all the time. So there's that. But I watch Security Boss. I've been watching your channel as well too. Because in trying to date and in watching my uncles and having a good view of marriage, I've always been raised to treat women a certain way. And I've actually stopped doing those things because I'm an artist too. And I'm kind of naturally romantic, and I just want to be nice to people. I'm not a pushover at all, and I'm not a yes dear kind of guy at all. But I've come across over and over that women have told me pretty much to my face, I'm not used to being treated this way.
Like kindly? So, you mean like romantically?
Yeah. It can be, just doing to me what's normal things and what I've seen other men in my life do. It can be just, and some might call this simpish behavior, but giving a woman flowers, opening her car door, just treating her like a lady.
Is that your wife or is that any woman?
Well, I would do that for anyone because that's how you're supposed to treat people. But the women are saying they're not used to being treated this way. And I've actually had them say that they preferred the bad boys.
Yeah. Women are masochists.
And even making, because I don't lead with my wallet. I do make like over 6 figures. I take like 2 or 3 international vacations a year. I do all this stuff. I don't tell them that. But it's like the behavior out here is like, I found that people don't show up they don't really dress up for dates anymore like they used to. People will ghost you. They will cancel dates at the last minute. Because there's been times where I've gone on a trip and I've come back and a girl has texted or emailed or called like, well, where were you? And I was like, well, I was in Peru. And she was like, well, you should have told me. I would have liked to go. And I'm like, if you can't make it to lunch, how can I trust you to make it to the airport?
That's good that you believe in etiquette. Are you married?
I'm not married. I'm looking. But it's like the behavior is so inconsistent and people are it's just so spotty where it doesn't seem like you can trust anybody when you're trying to vet people for certain things. It's just, and they show you this behavior. It's just not easy to, it just doesn't seem like there's much wifely behavior out there.
So what do you believe that you're, Chris, I want to ask you this. Yeah. Where do you believe that your etiquette and your behavior has gotten you relationship-wise?
And that's the thing. And that's why I've stopped doing things that I used to do. And when I did that just as a social experiment, it's interesting how the behavior changed, where you actually, when you don't call them and when you don't, I guess when you do opposite, that you get a better response. And I always find that that's interesting.
So, I'm sorry, I'm just inquisitive a little bit. So
That's fine.
do you mind me asking your age?
I am 48.
You're 48. Have you ever been married?
I haven't.
You
I
have
was in a
not.
long-term relationship for 3 years.
For 3 years?
Yeah, but since then I've just been dating and traveling and looking, but it's just kind of slim pickings out here when it comes to finding a wife. I mean, you can find women to date, but when it comes to the wife part and vetting for that, that's where the challenge is.
So can I ask you, since you haven't been married, what step of your dating did you start giving these flowers and being more romantic? How quickly did you start doing that?
It depends. When I was younger, I would just maybe show up with a couple just for like a first date or give it to them after the first date. But now it's I don't do it or I just wait till later.
I see.
But the thing is, I do travel a lot, and it's interesting that when I'm not in this country, women really like romantic men.
But not enough to get married.
They like those activities. Well, I've been, the jury's still out on that. I'll just say that right now.
But you're 48, Chris.
Yes, I am.
But that's what I'm saying. That's 48. Well, 48. That's like what, like 30 something years of dating that you have, and
I haven't dated the whole time because I didn't graduate college till I was 26.
I mean, you understand what I'm saying.
I moved to Atlanta.
You understand what I'm
I know what you're saying. But that's because of because I've been looking for like more of a wife because I didn't want to get married. I wanted to get married when I was 28. Before I moved to Atlanta. And I thought it would be easy when I moved to Atlanta. But it's not so easy when you move to Atlanta to really find that kind of thing because especially when you have good examples of what a marriage should be and what a wife should be and you're trying to do those, because even with my dad when he was raising us, he would say, and I wouldn't like to do certain things and he would say, you're going to have to do this when you get married. You're going to have to do this when you get married. Whether I was mowing the yard, working in the garden, fixing something around the house. He always planted those seeds of what I would have to do when I would get married. And, when you're older, you find out that your dad was right about what he was trying to tell you and the path he was trying to lead you on. But it's just difficult and I'm in the DC area now, which is a whole different animal.
Okay.
When you talk about liberalism, you ain't seen nothing till you move to the DC, Maryland, Virginia area.
No, I used to live in New York and DC. I know.
Yeah. So it's tough.
I mean, I understand, Chris, and I mean, this is just me as an outsider looking in. It does seem that maybe you're a little. Now, this is understanding women's nature. Women, I don't really know what they would see in the man. Even you sound very nice and you have great etiquette and you're sweet and romantic with the woman, it may come off a little bit too push over-ish to a woman because a lot of women, and this is so horrible that we're like this, but we are. A lot of women, when they see that, they might think of you as too much of a nice guy. And they always say nice guys finish last. But that's why I would recommend, I mean, I don't know if you're in a relationship now, but going a little bit slower with the romance and kind of giving a woman time to earn her flowers instead of
that was in the past. Now it's totally different animal now.
What do you guys have to say?
That's why I kind of watch. I like because I wish that some of these channels had existed maybe 20 years ago because it's a lot of good information for younger men to understand, and even watching Security Boss. Because she's more, I don't know, you see more of the wheelhouse of, I guess you call it old school wisdom and knowledge and how to do things versus modern.
What do you have to say about that, security boss? Somebody tap in.
Well, Rebecca had her hand up. Go ahead, Rebecca.
I was just going to say, Chris, I think that you need to establish boundaries within yourself. I think that's the key. I think you're starting to realize that, right?
I realized that 5 years ago.
Yeah, but you need to set your intention and keep the course.
Right.
Like it's very easy to let women have their way if they wanted to, and it sounds like you do well for yourself. And as Ameera said, you come off as the nice guy, so women can sniff that out.
No, I'm used to being around men that know what they want, they go for it, and they let that known. And I found that when you do that, women don't necessarily like that, because I have an aunt and uncle, for example. My uncle asked my aunt to marry him after 2 weeks, and they've been married 55 years.
That means they do like it. They do like it.
And I'm not saying I'm going that fast. But what I'm saying is when you, I really don't think that modern women necessarily like a man that knows what he wants and goes for it and makes his intention known up front.
Chris,
with what
you said they don't like that, or they do, Chris?
No, because I've been for example, I was at a dating event in Atlanta, and a woman came up to me and asked me what I wanted, and I was like, well, I'm here looking dating for a girlfriend and a wife eventually. And she was like, you can't say that. And I'm like, why?
You don't take advice from a woman that you're trying to be in a date.
I'm just saying that's what she said. I said what I said, what I was looking for. She said, you can't say that. And I'm like, why? And she said, because that's too forward and that makes you look desperate. And I'm like, but this is a dating event for people to meet each other and talk to each other. And it's like when
you should have told her that she looks. Oh no, I'm sorry.
Yes, I agree.
It's just things that
I'm gonna sit back for a little bit.
So Chris, I want to thank you first for watching my channel. I appreciate what you said. But I want to ask you a question, and I want you to think about it and answer it seriously.
Yes, ma'am.
Are you right now are you the best version of yourself right now? Absolute best.
I think so, yes.
There's nothing that you can do to make yourself better.
I mean, you can always do stuff to make yourself better.
Well, whatever that is that could make you better than what you are today, I want you to do it. And then the next thing is you need to change how you're meeting women, because it sounds like you're going on the internet and meeting women.
Oh no.
Where are you meeting women?
I'm the in-person, approach them if I see them out in public type of guy. I'm not an online guy.
So
if I'm at the art museum or the Target or the grocery store, I'll say hello, and that's how I get most of my dates is in person.
And none of those dates have turned out to be an engagement, and they're in person, but none of them have turned out to be an engagement.
Not yet.
Okay, so what you're saying is something in you is not coming out very confident. It's not something that a woman is willing to follow. So you got to get on your purpose just a little bit more. You got the job.
He thinks it's the women that are.
No, it's not the women, because women want to follow. Women want to follow.
I would disagree with that.
They want to follow, even the bad boy. Even the bad boy is very confident in woman, get over here.
Chris, these are 3 married women speaking to you. 3.
They do. That's why they're telling you're so nice. They even follow the bad boy that's not good for them. I'm not saying change.
Now, I've actually been told I won't get married because I won't do what I'm told.
Because you won't do what you're told.
Because I won't do what I'm told, which is basically what they want me to do.
What?
Yeah.
Chris, you need to leave DC.
I do, which I plan to do next.
I don't.
Yeah.
I think the women sounds like a lot of feminist women that you're around.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
This sounds like my old stomping grounds. Just you need to go. You need to
Yeah.
get away. Try a more suburban area.
Wow.
I think he needs to just
South.
speak with men. Honestly, I think he needs to speak with men because I think he's taking too much advice from a lot of women.
Yes.
And I think that's the issue that we're facing here because us as women, you know, even us speaking to him, I think he's taking too much advice from women. I think he needs to speak to strictly men at this point. Chris, that's up to you. That's just my advice, you know, as an outsider looking in. Stop listening to these women.
Yeah.
No,
Even
I
us,
mean, that's-
even you don't even have to
that's
listen
what-
to us at this point. Men.
And that's what I've actually been focused on this year is actually making more friends that are men and creating a group of men around me that
Yes.
we actually want to
Yeah.
do something. And we do actually travel a lot. And there's, you know, we all have different professions, but, you know, men that want to do something and build something and not, you know, so I'm building that kind of network around myself.
That's good to hear. That's good. Thank you, Chris, so much for calling in. This has been a pleasure speaking with you.
Thank you,
Okay.
Chris.
Love you all.
Thank you.
Wish you the best on your crew. He needs to get a crew. I think a man like that really needs a group of men that can, you know, give him guidance because I think in that case, I think it's too many women in his ear telling him that he should do this and don't do this because you're coming off too forward. That is not a woman's place to tell that man that. So for him to listen to her and then she's saying this bad advice, that was completely bad advice from a woman to say, but that's because she probably wanted him to be more submissive to her. She wanted him to be more submissive to her. So she said, don't come off too forward. Am I wrong?
Even the most feminist women will choose traditional men. It's been documented, and what they're saying to him is what it's what comes off. How do I say this? They wanna preach, oh, the patriarchy, you're being alpha, you're being what's it called? Misogynistic, toxic
masculinity. Yeah.
No, get rid of those women. Stop listening to women. Go find a group of men that can hold you accountable, keep you true, and
that's what we just saw. We just saw a man that has been listening to too many women. This is that.
Leave DC.
Yeah,
Chris, leave DC. Just
and
say
DC.
bye.
Okay, we're gonna have one more person in, and that's gonna be Bethany. Hi, Bethany.
Hi, how are y'all?
Good. Welcome in.
I'm good. How's everyone doing tonight?
Well, thank you.
Good. Thank you so much for this conversation. I think it's much needed. As a married woman and a married woman of color, I just feel that I just love this conversation. And I listen to y'all weekly. I love the Lapeef Network. And I went on a topic that y'all had, are women these days ready to be wives? And I would say no.
Why?
I think I'm on the phone out downstairs. Sorry.
So can you tell me why? Why do you think that?
I think that because, first of all, they think the word submission it's going to just cause trauma. Like, they hate the word submission. And I think they miss the concept of it. They don't know how to serve. I think women these days don't want to serve.
One second, Bethany. I'm so sorry, but GB, I want to let you know, I will let you in as well. I was going to have Bethany be the last one, but GB, you can come in as well. Go ahead, Bethany. I'm sorry.
Yes, I think women don't want to serve. They don't want to serve their household. They don't want to serve their husbands. I think when they have children, they think it's about the children. I would say in 2021, women rather be moms than be wives. And I think that's a very sad concept. I think single women, what woman is a single mom and saying, yes, this is the life I wanted. Yes, I like doing everything 100% alone. I think that's dangerous. I mean, you see it in families every day and you're wondering, well, this educated relative, why would you get pregnant by somebody and don't want them in the life? Like that's insane to me. My background, I grew up in a 2-parent household. I grew up in a Christian household. My mom stayed home. My mom had a college degree, never used it. To this day, she's like, yeah, I never used it, but she knew her role. And her role was me and my 3 brothers. Yes, 4 kids and 1 income producing family. Hey, I think today's society, everybody wants the glitz and the glamour, and they don't know the work that it takes to raise a family, to be a family unit. I think in 2021, yes, a dual income is probably much needed, but today's society, they don't know how to manage funds. They don't know how to do without. Cable is not a necessity. A luxury vehicle is not a necessity. and I think even me, I'm a stay-at-home mom. Guess what? We do well, but I don't ask for certain handbags and just things that don't matter. Sorry, my husband. Get out.
Your husband's calling you out.
He is calling me out. Look, I can shop. But within our means.
He's calling you out. Oh gosh. Anthony, that's terrible. You need to go to the closet.
No. Well, no, let me tell you how this works. So my husband has his own company and I work for his company. I'm a stay-at-home mom, but I majored in accounting. So when he has bigger projects, I get to come on those projects. He does not pay me a salary. There you go.
I agree.
You get workplace benefits.
There you go. It's a balancing act.
No, listen, AAA distributions. I understand.
Hold on. Y'all, please. But also I think even in the dating, hold on, y'all, I'm on the phone. Mom. Go downstairs. You out. 2 boys, sorry. But I think even in the dating stages, women, I remember when I dated, me and my husband were dating. He's older than me by about 20 years. Hold on.
20 years? Oh, goodness. She has a lot of background noise. Hi, Sean. Sorry about that. Bethany, is there any way that you can get to a quiet place?
Okay. Sorry. I had to go to the office.
Okay.
Even when my husband is 20 years older than me.
Oh.
Yes.
Good. How did that happen? And are there any problems that you face that are unique to your age gap in your marriage?
Initially, my parents weren't fans of it. Yeah, but my dad he wouldn't pick anybody other than who I married.
Oh, I see.
And it's just the best relationship. We got pregnant before we got married, but we got married before our baby was born. So we did premarital counseling. We definitely wanted, as Christians, we definitely want to repent for our sins. We did premarital counseling. I had other Christian counseling outside of that. And, we prayed for our relationship and we made it work.
Good woman.
But also as a Christian, I do think that your sins, you will be judged for your sins, and there's consequences for your actions. Yes, I gave birth to a healthy baby boy. Yes, we had a great wedding. Yes, we were financially able to provide all our necessities. But yes, sometimes there's struggles, but my husband's the head of our household. I know the role I play.
Bethany, you as a married woman, this is 4 married women on the panel, which is very unique because I've never had this, actually I think ever, I've never had this many women that are married just talking to me on this panel like this. So I want to thank all 3 of you for being here because it's a very special moment for me to have this unique and diverse group that we have here. So I want to ask you, Bethany, when you hear about the marriage problems that we have in the West, do you believe that women know what it takes to be a good wife? And what are the things that you had to learn, as you were married, that brought you along to being a good or better wife?
The things that I would say, well, first of all, I saw submission and a great wife, just in my mom. My mom taught me how to be a wife. I served my brothers. I served my father. That's what it was. My mom went away. First of all, and there was no girls' trips growing up. And I don't do girls' trips now as a wife. I don't go to bachelorette parties. If I do, I'm not staying the night.
Yes,
I will go out to dinner, maybe even go to the club. I may come home a little late, but I didn't spend the night. And that's just the makeup of it. And I know I've had girlfriends like, oh, that's so controlling. I'm like, yeah, we're 6 years in, and I have girlfriends that didn't make it a year. So, but for the second part of that question, what I had to learn, and I would say I was a little independent before I got married. I lived on my own, made decent money, paid all my bills, whatever. But I also had to learn, I kept my mouth shut. I don't provoke my husband. We can go, everything's not tit for tat. I'm not going to say I'm not winning that argument, but I think there's a humbleness in silence. I think that my husband he's humble enough to admit when he's wrong, which is not often. I'm not going to, like, my husband, he has wisdom. He has years on me. So I'm not going to argue. But if he came back and like, hey, you know what? I thought about it. I'm sorry for that. Hey, we don't go to sleep mad. If we do, it's something that we don't linger on. We talk about it and we do better. There has to be forgiveness and grace in relationships. And I think people don't give that enough.
Certainly. Is there anything that anyone wants to add, Rebecca or Security Plus?
Bethany, I think you're doing it right. Although he threw you under the bus a little bit ago about some pocketbooks. But I understand. But it sounds like you're doing an outstanding job, and I advocate for marriage. So listen, even when it gets hard, because I know we flake out, women flake, men do too. Doesn't matter. Drive down the street, walk around the corner, come back with a smile. It's always better with them than without them. Always better with them.
I agree, and I love listening to, like, YouTube is my cable, and I love these podcasts and these conversations. I know my situation may be a little bit more unique. Like, I have family members that are like, I give you kudos for marrying much older. I'm like, I'm not losing because I married older.
No,
they get better with age. And there is a sense of security I have, knowing my husband is the leader of our household. He makes great decisions. I can trust him. And he's not ever going to make a decision that's going to affect our livelihood, just to amplify his self-esteem.
His ego.
His ego. There you go. I'm missing words.
Yeah, I knew you were going with that one.
His ego. No. It can't be ego in relationships. And even if it is a little male ego, as a wife, you gotta kind of stroke that ego. It's okay.
Yeah.
We're winning on the back end of doing that. I think everybody wants their treasures up front, and they just don't realize the work it takes. And I mean, we're going through the season of life, and we can't be. I mean, I'm very blessed. I'm homeschooling my 2 boys right now because it's a pandemic, and
I am so happy to hear that. Regardless of pandemic or not, you should.
I know. I'm like, I probably need 2 years of them back in school just for a little peace of mind, just for a little bit.
Can I just want to address the super chat really quickly, because I know I've missed, I believe 2, because we were in the middle of the conversation, but I want to address this one, or at least read it. Sorry. The Wealthy Broke Man says, isn't it crazy that people need this conversation? The most are probably somewhere getting drunk right now.
Wow.
Huh? So he's saying most people are probably getting drunk right now instead of listening to the conversation. It's a Sunday night, sir. I would doubt.
Oh,
really?
Clubs open on Sunday.
People go out on Sunday and get.
Oh, I'm wrong? Okay.
It's Sunday fun day.
I have no clue, I guess. Sorry. Okay, continue, Bethany.
Oh no, that was I look, I don't wanna I've always wanted to call in and then like yeah, my nerves are a wreck right now talking to y'all. I'm so sorry.
You're doing good. You're doing really good. Don't feel bad.
Bethany, I love that you said that you talked about silence. I think that a lot of women forget and they don't really understand this concept of
No.
of resting in your silence, you know, and I think as well. So there's these 3 questions that I always say. I got this from my counselor. Does it need to be said? Does it need to be said right now? Does it need to be said right now by me? And sometimes I'm not the one who has to have the conversation with my husband. It's his counselor, it's his accountability partner, it's his the group of men that surround him and that have to have that conversation with him. It doesn't have to come from me. I think that a lot of women today want to get that final word out. I got to stick it to him. I got to make sure he gets that point. Sometimes, baby girl, you're pushing him away. You're pushing him further and further away by saying what you need to say. And
By not
sometimes
stopping.
you need to
Not knowing when to stop. Yeah.
I think that's just a losing argument at times. And in the end, I mean, I think it's just a pride issue, you know, where everybody wants to get the last word.
Yeah, when I first got married too, I didn't know when to stop too, because you know, you're new in your marriage. Sometimes you don't know your boundary. And I think every woman has to learn that with her husband, where the boundary is, and when you have to learn your husband's look of like, enough.
Oh yes.
You know, because I didn't know at first. I was new wife, so I was like just still going and pushing it and keep going, and yeah, gotta learn.
Well, it's funny you say that, because I remember when we got married, and remember, like, we got married and then a month later had a kid. So every life change, the major life changes that happened, I did within a year. Like, got pregnant, had a wedding, had a baby, bought a house, and the stress levels are high.
Yeah.
And I did work, but then I came off maternity leave. I worked in oil and gas. I'm in Houston, by the way. So came off maternity leave. A week later, but 2016, the oil crisis happened or whatever, and I got laid off. And everybody was all in their feelings. I'm like, no, I'm going home to my husband and my kid. I'm fine. And I remember kind of going back and forth and just realizing, like, no, I'm not going to say anything. It's not worth it. Everybody's in their little headspace. I was going to ask, do you ladies have check-ins with your husbands?
Like a check-in time?
No, check-in as in, how are we doing in the marriage? How are you feeling? Does anything need to be put on the table about anything?
No.
Okay.
No, I don't.
No. You address what needs to be addressed when it needs to be addressed.
Correct.
And
Correct.
keep going. Just everything day by day. Address what needs to be addressed and then keep going. You know, learn your lesson and keep moving.
Did this pandemic change anything?
It brought me and my husband closer.
Mm-hmm.
Same.
My husband and I have been working together for the last, 16, 17 years. So, no.
You definitely have more experience than us in this.
Right.
That's why I kept her on.
Every day for the last, and I don't even think we get tired of each other. We don't tell each other that we're tired of each other if we do, because I'll go in another room and he'll go somewhere else too. So, but we're together every single day.
I work with my husband too. I know exactly what you mean.
All day.
Yeah.
So I think that oneness is important.
And not say anything to each other. We can sit in a room and work, or in our offices and work and not say anything, you know, because we're working, but we're together all day, every day. And then come home and eat and do everything. Then we're talking, then we get on YouTube, and then it's all over again. So pandemic didn't change anything for me.
Thank you, Bethany. Thank you for joining us. And stay
have
beautiful.
A good night.
You're so pretty.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank
You have a
you.
beautiful smile.
Thank you, Bethany.
Good night.
Good night. Bye. Let me get you. Oh, okay. And our last caller is going to be GB. GB, Welcome in.
Hi, how are you?
Doing
Hey,
well, thank
how are
you.
you?
Hello.
I'm well, thank you. The topic is marriage, right? Can you
Huh?
hear me?
Yeah, what'd you say?
The topic is marriage, correct?
Mm,
Marriage.
yes, yes.
Yes. Well, from the Bible, marriage is actually sex. I know it sounds strange,
Correct.
but it's how two, male and female, become one flesh.
Mm,
A lot of people don't understand that concept and they think it's a ring and a paper. And we're taught it from a young age. Well, I know I was taught it, that a ring and paper is marriage. But flesh is flesh, and the act is what brings children. So a lot of people, unfortunately, are marrying, not knowing it.
Right.
Then they leave their spouse and they go commit adultery with somebody else. They marry somebody else. Now, there's different rule between male and female. A man can have multiple wives, but he has to take care of every wife he has sex with. It's a lot of responsibility. Most men don't do that. They're sleeping around, tossing with a woman, and the woman go and commit adultery. Or the woman get bored with the man and say, I'm tired of this relationship, and they go to find somebody else. That's also adultery. So it's not just simply we're making mistakes in a relationship. We don't even understand the true concept of marriage. It's biological. It's not paper and written ink. It's what you do with your body. So a
mm,
lot of people right now are in a lot of trouble. Unless they change their minds, they're in a lot of trouble. And it's
yeah.
a mind change.
Oh, go ahead, sorry.
Sorry, you were saying?
Yeah. I was saying that I hate how people devalue marriage into being a piece of paper, and it's like marriage. The piece of paper is just proof of what happened. It doesn't. That's not what it is. Marriage is a bonding of family, blood, uh, ancestry, everything. This is two families being blended together. This is marriage. It's not about a paper. And people, and it's also about inheritance. Inheritance. I always have trouble with this word. Inheritance, money, everything is involved in marriage. So to say it's just a piece of paper, no, the paper is just saying what happened. But what marriage is way more than that.
But what people gotta understand, the marriage is a license. It's like, how do I put it to you? You can go fishing, right? But without a fishing license, it's illegal. You can
Okay.
drive your car, but without a car license, it's illegal.
Okay.
You can also marry, which people have sex, they're marrying. But the license was initially meant to stop black and white couples to marry in America. The Lovington case documents that whole thing in America specifically.
Okay.
So basically, it's a contract, it's a license, it's a permission, which otherwise you're prohibited to do. So they're not enforcing the license right now, but the state put that license as well. It was in the past prohibited for blacks to marry whites. The license was required for a black person or white person to marry a black person. This is where it came about in America. But throughout history and throughout marriage is just honestly sex, and how you treat sex will determine how your marriage becomes. If you're recreational with sex and play around with sex, then your marriage is gonna be in trouble. It's gonna destroy it. But if you keep it sacred and you have the proper roles of a male and proper role of female, and you live within that bond, yeah, it will survive. But if that's destroyed, the marriage over. I mean, that's why it's so important for women not to sleep around. It's very important for men not to sleep with a bunch of women and toss them aside, because you're destroying them when you do that, and she's destroying herself when she does that. And that's
Okay,
why
you're
society.
speaking more of spirituality. You're speaking more in the spiritual aspect of everything. When you're speaking about marriage licenses, I understand what you're trying to say, but there's another reason for this as well. The license is also to prove that you're not already married to someone else. It's so that it prevents us being married to multiple people at the same time, which is illegal in America. And also another thing about the marriage documents and the paperwork and so on and so forth, this is also to, I believe it's to establish inheritance and all that. Like if a person dies, when you die, or if you're sick, who can be by your bedside when you're ill and who can pull the cord on your, this is just documentation. I'm not sure. I understand what you're saying though. You're saying that it happened because they didn't want
There
the
was a case.
interracial mixing.
There's actual case law, historical case law. called the Lovington case. You got to Google it, look into it. It literally deals with how the marriage license was used in America. It was literally a license as a driver's license. Same idea. If you don't have it, you're not allowed. And it was specifically used for, I guess, what we consider interracial, but there's only one race of people. But it was meant to stop black and white to come together in America.
Okay.
But besides that, but remember, marriage is not of mankind; it's of God.
Right.
So if God created marriage, He can't limit it to, say, for example, America has a certain rules of marriage and certain ceremonies they do. You go to another country, they may have certain rules and certain ceremonies as well too. But when God creates things, He makes them universal. It applies here in America, Canada, where I am, my bad, sorry, as well as basically anywhere else you live. It's biological. Two become one flesh. That's literally what it means. Be
Having
fruitful,
sex.
multiply, have children. So that's also why contraception is actually a real vice against God. People don't might not understand that, but it blocks the ability to be fruitful, multiply. People pretend to be God now to decide when or when not to have children. So they're playing God now. So it causes a lot
it's a
of trouble.
sin. It's a sin to use birth control.
So GB, you're just speaking of the a spiritual marriage, where the Bible speaks of two individuals sleeping together, then that you are actually married to that person. And
Not
you
spiritual. It's flesh.
I'm talking about spiritual being in the Bible.
It's in the Bible, yes.
Okay,
It's
so
also
then
biological.
Then we move on to you said about idolatry. You're right about a man having more than one living wife. He's an adulteress. That is true.
No, that's not what I said. If a man takes another man's woman, that's adultery.
If a man marries another woman, or a man has two living wives, he's an adultery too.
That's not what I said. No.
No, I'm saying that also.
He's saying that.
Oh, you're saying that?
Telling you that. Yeah, a man is not supposed to have more than one.
From the Bible, because King Solomon had multiple wives. King David had multiple wives. That's not from the Bible.
I didn't say he didn't have them. He's not supposed to have more than one living wife.
Actually, if you look in the Bible concerning King David, when he was rebuked for having adultery, taking Uriah's wife, God said He gave his master, King Saul, his wives.
I do believe that polygamy is allowed in the Bible, Miss Security Boss. I do believe that, but you can correct me if I'm wrong there. But I do believe that it has been said.
It's just not comfortable today.
Comfortable for today. There is polygamous. Well, I read in the Bible that a man should not have more than one living wife.
Where do you see
if
that?
He does, he's an adulterer. Now, if his first wife passes away, then he's fine to have another wife. But he's not supposed to have two.
It doesn't say that. What book? What chapter?
I don't know.
That's why.
I don't know what book and chapter. I'm not trying to quote a scripture like that, but I do know I've heard that, and that's what I was taught. I'm just saying to you, you might know it better than me. I didn't ask you to quote a scripture, but I'm just saying I'm not trying to quote a scripture. We're trying to figure out how to live within marriage. That's just what we're talking about. And I was just addressing what you said about marriage being sexual and of flesh. That's all I was saying. And you
become one flesh is what the Bible says. Be fruitful, multiply, is having children. Your children is a mixture of two flesh.
Right. And then you went on to say a man can have many wives as long as he should take care of them all.
That's correct.
Okay, so I'm agreeing with you with that. But as far as the piece of paper goes, God also says we should obey the laws of the land. And that's what you're saying about I don't know of the case law, but that's why we go get this license to become married. So you're exactly right when you say it's like a license to drive a car. So I agree with you in some things. So I guess we're in agreement somewhat. But I didn't understand quite what was your point as far as marriage.
Is that literally the act of sex. Sorry, my bad. Can I? My point is the act of sex. What is marriage? It's not something aside from marriage. It is the marriage itself. Even the idea of you saw the idea of consuming the marriage, right? So you had the ceremony, which is the party, the vows, which you don't need to do. In fact, Christ says don't make vows like that, but people do it. But the act itself is marriage. This is why it's so dangerous, our society right now. This is why we lost so much. Our society is collapsing based upon not valuing sex as sacred.
Are you married, GB?
Yes, I was.
You were?
I was. Recently, unfortunately, social media, she found a different guy.
I'm sorry.
So I'm taking care of the children now and the family.
I'm
I
sorry.
still got my role to play. I got to still provide. I still got to protect. Doesn't matter.
Yeah, we were just speaking about that, weren't we, security boss?
Yeah. Somebody else.
It's a powerful tool. It destroys family. It can.
Yeah.
It has the ability. It tempts female to believe that they have multiple options of men. They believe the lies being told, and eventually they leave for the lies. Now, eventually, all lies break apart, destroys, but it's just the modern time. It's not a good thing. The social media.
So, GB, are you abstaining now?
Oh yeah.
But you will be married again. You will get married again.
Honestly, know what I know. It's very risky. The society has become very tainted. It's very risky, very dangerous. Because sexual faithfulness is not a real thing much more among my generation.
Oh, wow.
It's become very tainted. It's unfortunately, because we're not taught many of the things when we're young. We're taught to take sex as recreational. We're taught sexual education in school, to use vices to take it recreational, because otherwise there's real more consequences, which would deter people from making foolish decisions. Because of that kind of environment, it's a very difficult place. Plus, also desires. What a woman desires now is even more than my father in the past. What my mother required, like it's more now. A man of simple means is not enough. You need a rich, high-value man now. That's what they want. They want a celebrity or someone with money and wealth and power, getting trips. So, what's the average man?
That's not true. Not for all women, but I understand that you had a bad situation. You did. How long were you married?
For 9 years.
9 years.
Now, the thing is this, it's not just a bad situation. I've realized that basically, unfortunately, and this may sound bad, but women are taught in general that to play around sexually is okay and fine. And later on, find a good man after all that, if he doesn't work out, the man you want.
Correct.
Now, men are starting to realize, no, I don't want to be the backup guy or the guy to clean up your mess. I don't want that. And now, since that's happening, men are abstaining a bit. They're choosing either to basically, unfortunately, just play around with women and toss them left, right, and center and don't take care of them, which is bad. Or they're going to go what they call monk, which they don't bother with women at all.
Rebecca, what do you think about this?
Yeah, I've been waiting to chime in here. I am a Christian. What I believe to be marriage is covenant, God, man, woman. That's what I believe. And sex is consummation of marriage. And so I agree with you in certain aspects as well. I also think that now you can take this however you want. There's the New Testament, there's Old Testament and New Testament. We're living in New Testament times with a new covenant of with Christ creating that new covenant with us, breaking the veil and allowing us to live New Testament. Now, I agree with Security Boss in the sense that one man, one woman equals marriage. Now, I understand what you're talking about when it comes to sex and how and what it means to be married, right? The sexual part of it, the nature part of it, because there is what's happening is called soul ties. I don't know if you have heard that term before, but people are connected through the soul, which means that is what you were saying is, I believe, is what you're saying is the marriage part of it. Correct me if I'm wrong.
No, I'm not saying that actually. I'm saying marriage is literally of the flesh. The Bible says marriage is of the flesh. When you
become one.
To become one flesh, it says, not one spirit, not one mind, one flesh. It really means the flesh you have in your skin and bones.
So essentially what you're saying is that now you will be abstaining from sex for.
I'm gonna try to.
So
I might fail, but I'm gonna try to.
So essentially, you will be married again, given your words, because you will
I don't
have
know the
sex with
future.
someone.
If I have sex with somebody else, yes, I will be marrying that person. Even Paul made it clear: if a man sleeps with a harlot, a woman is prostitute or whore, whatever it is,
Mm-hmm.
that he's marrying that person. Now, it was not wise because they're not faithful, but you still are marrying that person. The Bible talks about the fact, basically, don't defile the temple, which is your body, and you talk
Mm-hmm.
about sexual sins defile the body. So that's the thing with our society. Unfortunately, we're taught a false concept of marriage. We believe it from a young age. I was taught it: ring, paper, go to church on a Sunday, vows, and so forth. When the Bible doesn't put any ring in the Bible, there's none. You can't find it. The paper contract was something created by man and drafted up for legal reasons.
Mm-hmm.
But the Bible always speaks. For example, Isaac took, if you go into Genesis about Isaac and Rebecca marriage, Isaac took Rebecca into his mother's tent. He knew her. This is old-fashioned word for slept with her. And she became his wife. It literally says it like that. In Genesis, I think like Genesis 24 or something like that. I got to refresh more in the Bible. But the very act is marriage. Flesh, we marry by flesh. Once you become, if you make it through heaven, you become like the angels who don't marry. They're not flesh like you and I.
So there's a lot of people out here married to multiple people.
Adultery is the norm. Yes. Hey, I'm just.
I know. I follow. I'm following what you're saying, but essentially, is what you're saying is
it's
that
the norm.
Mm-hmm.
Adultery is the common norm of the everyday people. Ring and paper or no ring and paper. It doesn't mean you can't be saved. It doesn't. All have sinned. All fall short. But you have to recognize the sin, address the sin, and then don't sin.
So do you believe? Well, I don't want to get too. I don't want to get too biblical or. But do you believe in grace?
Absolutely.
Okay, so do you think, do you believe in redemption and
absolutely
Christ
yes.
washing over? So people can, if they sin, they can repent.
Yes.
Okay.
But repentance is not just a talk of the mouth; it's the actions.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of people say repentance like this is lip service, but repentance is shown by your actions. For example, if a woman should repent of the past unsubmissive, unfaithful behavior, she's going to be faithful and she'll be submissive.
Oh, okay.
But if she's not submissive and she's not faithful, she's not repentant. She's still the same person, just pretending. So repentance is actions.
Yeah.
So yes, I absolutely believe in grace. But unfortunately, today we live in a so-called, it's more like I sin and I just toss grace over it as a sprinkling on top of a salad.
Yeah, I agree with, I see that happening today as well. I agree with that.
So does marriage correct this sin? As long as if she gets married, this woman repents and actually gets married and is faithful to her husband, is she now redeemed or have your grace to move on as a married woman?
What do you mean by sorry, repeat that? You mean grace?
You said a woman? You said the woman, the best way to show that a woman has repented.
Yes.
Is not to do it again. So I'm assuming
not to be sexual and faithful again. Yes.
Again. So within marriage, so she gets married, she repents, she gets married, and she's faithful to her husband from then on. Does she have your grace at that point?
My grace?
Not your grace particularly. I'm just saying grace. Is
grace.
it okay?
If she stays faithful to that man, submit to that man, that is a sign of repentance. Yes. Okay. But usually it's like this. It's not simply you drop the guy you're with right now and says, hey, I'm gonna find this guy over here I think is really nice, and I'm gonna actually become submissive and repent to him. No, that's not it. In fact, the last guy you slept with that's your last husband. And unless there's a reason why, you should probably go back to him, submit and obey. Because that's your current husband until you go to another one. Marriage is until death. Or until adultery, either one.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you so much, GB. This
No
has
problem.
been interesting. Thank you.
Thank you, GB.
Have a good night.
Good
You too.
night.
Be well.
Okay, guys, so we're gonna go ahead and close it out. I have enjoyed this so much with you guys. Wesley, you back again? Oh my goodness.
Just gotta
How'd you come
sneak in
back?
there.
Thank you guys for joining us. Is there any final thoughts I want to give everyone before we go? Because remember, this is the last stream that people are going to see before their week begins. So let's send them off with something good, yeah? Go on. Don't all raise your hand at once.
Well, listen, Ameera, I just want to say thank you for having me up. And I definitely love the marriage talk because remember, I'm coming from a place of being successfully married. And I want everybody to know that it can happen. It is a real thing, but we must be more intentional and take it serious. And I kind of agree with GB a little bit. We don't take it serious enough, but the other part, it kind of lost me on, but I'm okay with that. I definitely think we should take it serious. And I definitely think it can work. And we can actually continue with these talks and help somebody that's on the verge of walking out. So I appreciate you a lot.
Thank you, Security Boss. I honestly, 1 minute, Rebecca, I know I heard you. Security Boss, the reason I kept you on is because I knew that you have so much insight into this, and I appreciate your wisdom so much. Every time that I've seen you speak, you always speak with intention, clarity, and you speak with a mission. Some people just like to babble and just like that and just hear themselves talk. You are not of that kind. You are not of that breed of people. So I appreciate you all the time when you bring your wisdom here. And this is why I wanted to keep you on so much. Thank you.
Much.
Rebecca?
I really appreciate these conversations. I think that we should continue having these conversations, especially as married women. The internet is filled with toxic behavior and toxic women spewing all that they want to. So it's great to have these discussions. It's good to bring these things to light. And, call it for what it is and try to help more women. That's what I do on my platform. I speak to women, try to instill accountability, personal responsibility. So, more of these conversations are definitely needed in the space. And let's get people married. I'm an optimist. I'm an optimist like you, Security Boss. I'm an optimist. I think it can happen. I
say the world is doomed. We're all doomed. This is the end. This is it. Wes, is there anything else you wanted to add? And don't do any dad jokes because then, please.
It's the best part of the show, though.
No, Wesley. I beg you, please.
I'm going to tell young people out there, value yourselves. A lot of times when you get into a bad relationship, it's because you're not valuing yourself. And you think for some reason that you deserve to be punished. And that's just what you were taught. It's time to grow up. There's lots of books on the subject, and there's lots of people here that you can listen to that are essentially trying to tell you to value yourself. But also, for those of you that are in a relationship or you're trying to be in a relationship, remember, it's about communication. This is a strange time where we have so many different ways of communicating with each other, yet we never do it. Facebook isn't communicating. It's poison.
Mm-hmm.
So just learn how to be with someone and just truly emote and talk with them. If you're in a relationship, your cell phone should be off anytime you are together. There is nothing on that cell phone that is more important than what you have right in front of you.
Exactly. A lot of people, we miss what's in front of us for a screen. Isn't that so pathetic that we have God's best creation, a human being, sitting in front of us, willing to communicate and speak with the words that took thousands of years to be created, language, and we don't value it because we're looking at something that's going on somewhere else. We're so interested in things that are going on, outside of our own lives instead of looking at the people who are standing in front of us or sitting in front of us. It's sad. And I hope we can do better as humanity. I mean, I know that's kind of a weird thing to say, but I hope we can do better. I want to say thank you guys so much, and I do appreciate all of you very, very much. The three of you here have made my night. It has been really eye-opening to speak with 3 and at one time 4 other married women, and let's do it again sometime.
Thank you.
Yeah, I would love it.
Thank you guys, and I want to say thank you to the chat. Grogu, I did miss a few of 2 of your super chats. I do apologize. I'm so sorry that I missed them, and whatever I have to do to make it up to you, I'll do it. I'm so sorry about that. Yes,
Ameera, can I say one thing? I almost forgot. Tomorrow night, I'm going live at 8:30. We're talking about sex, lies, and money within a marriage relationship.
That sounds like an episode of Snap. That sounds like an episode of Snap.
Come and join me, please. We're going live. Security Boss Unsolicited.
I'll try to join you.
8:30 Eastern time, I should say.
8:30 Eastern?
Yes.
Okay, so it's like 5:30 my time. Okay. I'll try to join you too, because that sounds like a very interesting topic. It sounds like some... Oh my God. So I guess that's it, right? Are we all good? Is everybody good? Everybody got out what they needed to get out?
Yeah.
Yep.
All righty then. Thank you guys for joining us on this episode of Lapeef Let's Talk. Well, Lapeef Let's Talk. This is a Lapeef/Ameera, and we're talking about marriage. Thank you guys, and we yield our time. Bye-bye.